Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. Matthew Alvarez as we continue to follow the leader of the free world in the Middle East. This is his second day of the three-day tour of three separate nations. Of course, that coverage yesterday with Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Robert McNeely in studio. He'll be joining me here shortly. Also, he went 400 miles to the east to Qatar, or Qatar, depends how you want to call it, but Qatar is the way I'll call it for today's broadcast. He is there now, and there's a lot of video from overnight that we'll be getting to here shortly on Right Side Broadcasting Network, looking live at the White House, of course, and getting ready to show a lot of video, of course, from the President of the United States, as this is a live video, I believe, as well in Qatar, so we can say the latest news from Trump's visit now to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, as he will be going to the United Arab Emirates tomorrow. So a lot of this stuff happened while most of us were sleeping overnight, so we'll have the various pieces of video for you. Now, they are 7 hours ahead of us, of course, of the East Coast time. That's what you're looking at there live right now. So that time exactly is, as I added Riyadh to the world clock on my phone, it's 4:30 in the afternoon in Qatar, and also Saudi Arabia, same time zone there, and Israel, same time zone, 4:30 in the afternoon. So you're looking live there in Qatar. So we'll be seeing the president soon. Let's first go to some video that we've seen overnight. President Trump, he was actually arriving at the Saudi Gulf Cooperation Council in Riyadh. He was taking photos there. As we await for this live video, in the sense of when we see the president and we see the leader of Qatar, we will go to that video as soon as we see it. But let's go to that one from just overnight, as the president was arriving at the Saudi Gulf Cooperation Council in Riyadh.
We're not going anywhere.
All right, as you can see there, President Trump taking pictures with leaders and envoys of various nations. That was in Riyadh. Then, of course, on his way to Qatar. But before he went to Qatar, he had one more speech there about budgets and peace in the Middle East, including the dropping of sanctions on Syria. We'll go to that in just a second. As you see on the right side of your screen, though, this is a live feed from Qatar right now. It is 4:34 in the afternoon local time there in the Middle East, and we'll be seeing the president here shortly. As soon as we do, we'll go there live. In the meantime, this all brought to you by Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website to go to. Of course, gold, silver as a backup plan as the financial, system, ebbs and flows. We know this, that Maganomics is great. We want more money. We want to be healthier, wealthier in this country. But still having a retirement or savings account that has money backed with gold and silver, always a great plan. You can get the info kit for free. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN is that website. Colonial Metals Group. Let's also go to All Family Pharmacy. Imagine needing that medication, of course, and being told you can't have it. Well, Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, and many other medications, more than 200 essential medications available at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So there's a lot there for you. Again, ivermectin, methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine. They also have antibiotics. It's the kind of medications your local pharmacy will just kind of stay away from. Well, not this one, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All you have to do is order online. Their doctors handle the prescription for you, and your medications get shipped right to your door, sometimes even overnight. No insurance, no hassle, just peace of mind. It's been great to interview a number of people from All Family Pharmacy, including the owner, a pharmacist. Lars Larson of the Lars Larson Show joined us the other day speaking on behalf of the company. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, so it's 9:36, Wednesday, May 14th. You're looking live in Qatar right now. We'll go there as soon as we see the president and the leader of that country. We'll go there as soon as that happens. In the meantime, we'll have the latest news, of course, as you see on the bottom of your screen, from his visit to Saudi Arabia, which is this last clip that we have for you, where the president was speaking on a number of items, including budgetary means. Here's that video.
I've seen such progress that it's really incredible. I've also seen great beauty and great things. I spent a little time with you just before this, and I've seen tremendous unity, tremendous friendship, and the whole world is watching the Middle East, and many are watching within. We have something very special going on. Incredible opportunities are within reach for this region. If we can simply stop the aggression from a small group of pretty bad actors. The Biden administration created havoc and bedlam by basically being incompetent, but by empowering Iran and its proxies, sending them billions and billions of dollars. Senseless. I couldn't believe it to watch. One of the reasons I said, let's do this again. But what they did was so bad while turning his back on the Gulf allies. Those days are over. Everybody at this table knows where my loyalties lie, always have. They'll never waver, never. And we'll stand with our friends and partners, and we'll confront the aggression that threatens us all. I want to make a deal with Iran. I want to do something if it's possible. But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. I don't imagine there's anybody at this table or anybody in this room that would say they can. I'm strongly urging all nations to join us in fully and totally enforcing the sanctions that I just placed on Iran, and we also placed secondary sanctions, which are in certain ways even more devastating. Iran, as you know, had no money when I left office. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. There was no attack. There was no thought of attack. There would have been no attack if I were president. But bad things happened in that election. And I said, let's do it again. And by doing it again, it became much more historic. It's a much more historic election, much more powerful election. And we have a mandate. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won 2,750 districts, we call them districts, out of a total, if you look at the number, it was 2,750 to 505. The whole map was red meaning Republican. So I will say recently we launched strikes on more than 1,100 Houthi targets in Yemen, as you know. And last week they agreed to stop. They don't want to be targeting our commercial ships anymore. And they said, that's enough, that's enough. We've done about 52 days, 52 nights. It didn't end. We just put in a budget of $1 trillion. It's our biggest budget, military budget we have ever put in. And the United States is very, very strong right now. It's amazing. In a short period of time, we've been there 100 days. And in a short period of time, we've done what a lot of people don't do in 4 years. We're a hot country, just like you're a hot area. And we're going to keep it that way. In Gaza, my administration shares the hope of so many in this region for future of safety and dignity of the Palestinian people. but that cannot happen as long as Gaza's leaders take delight in raping, torturing, and murdering innocent people. Can't have it. I greatly appreciate the constructive role that the leaders in this room have played in trying to bring the terrible conflict to an end, including by helping secure the release of American hostage Idan Alexander. It was a big day yesterday, a very important day. I was told just before I left that they were going to be releasing Idan. We thought Idan was dead. 3 weeks ago, they said Idan was no longer living. And it was a very, very good thing. Ultimately, all hostages of all nationalities must be released as a stepping stone to peace, and I think it's going to be happening. A lot of things are happening. A lot of very positive things are happening on every front. With the support of leaders in this room, and they're great leaders, you are, we are currently exploring normalizing relations with Syria's new government, as you know, beginning with my meeting with President Ahmed al-Shara and Secretary Rubio's meeting with the Syrian foreign minister in Turkey after discussing the situation with Crown Prince Mohammed and President Erdogan of Turkey. I am also ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful. And I spoke to Mohammed, and I spoke to our friend from Turkey, who we just spoke to also by phone now. But felt very strongly that this would give them a chance. It's not going to be easy anyway, so it gives them a good, strong chance. And it was my honor to do so. So we will be dropping all of the sanctions on Syria, which I think really is going to be a good thing. And we made a speech last night, and that was the thing that got the biggest applause from the room. We had a very crowded room with thousands of people, and the statement that got the biggest applause was dropping the sanctions on Syria. Likewise, in Lebanon, there's a new chance for a future free from the grip of Hezbollah terrorists if the new president and prime minister can rebuild an effective Lebanese state. We just appointed a very good ambassador, a friend of mine who's Lebanese, and I didn't even know that. And I said, why do you want to be the ambassador to Lebanon? That could be dangerous. He said, I don't care. I grew up there. I love the country. And I don't care if it's dangerous or not dangerous. I want to do that. And he's a very capable man, very successful man from the United States. And he's going to be your ambassador. He's going to do a great job. But this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to forge a Lebanon that is prosperous and at peace with its neighbors. And I think things can really happen there. They've had a tough go of it for a long time. At the end of my first term, all of the momentum in this region was toward peace. I especially want to thank and congratulate the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain for their vision and courage in signing the historic Abraham Accords. It was it's a very big thing. I believe we would have had it filled out had the election been called fairly, which it wasn't. It was a rigged election. I hope that in the near future we can continue that progress. We have a mandate from the American people, the likes of which people haven't seen for 129 years. They say it was the most consequential election in America in 129 years. So that sounds like a long time, so we'll take that. But in the future, we'll continue that progress by adding more countries to the Abraham Accords. We have 4, and I think they're going to be filling up very rapidly. Biden didn't do anything because he never did anything about anything. He had no capability, he had no ability, and it was a shame what he's done to so many countries, including our own. We had an interesting fact. About a year ago, there was a story that we're having a hard time getting enlistments into the military, and it was at the lowest level almost ever. People didn't want to go into our military. And it just came out last week, you probably saw that we have now the strongest enlistment in the history of our country. They say 38 years. One said 37, one said 32, and one said ever. So we just had the strongest enlistment in the history of the United States of America. So think of it, in 1 year we went from they can't get people to enlist to we have the strongest enlistment, and that includes the police departments too. We're having a hard time getting people to be police, the great law enforcement arm that we're known for, and now we're setting records. It's hard to get a job. I mean, frankly, the lines of people wanting to be police officers and go into the military, and it's a matter of spirit. We have great spirit in the country right now. We've done a lot in 100 days, I'll tell you that. It's all started on November 5th with the election. But a stable and peaceful Middle East will be a successful and prosperous Middle East, and that's what you've done, and that's what you're doing. And, you know, it's amazing because when I was here last, it was fine, it was doing good. And then I see the things that you're doing here and in your countries. It's just incredible what you're doing. Is the whole world is talking about it. The whole world is watching us. Look at all the news over there, the fake news. Look at them. The whole world is talking about what you're doing, and you're the envy of the world. Together, we're in this room, and we're going to forge a Middle East that will be a thriving commercial, diplomatic, and cultural crossroads at the geographic center of the world. It's what it is. It's the center of the world. I look forward to working with you, and I want to thank Mohammed. I want to thank you, Crown Prince. We have a special relationship. We have long had a special relationship, but it was an honor to spend a couple of days with you, and I'll see you again soon, and I'll see you a lot. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
شكرا فخامة الرئيس على كلمتكم. الآن أدعو جلالة الملك حمد بن عيسى الخليفة الملك الملك البحرين.
All right, so President Trump speaking recently overnight, of course, as he is traveling to 3 Middle Eastern countries. As you guys know, Saudi Arabia first, Qatar second, and then United Arab Emirates third. Right there on the right side of your screen is a live feed in Qatar. So we're going to go there as soon as we see the president. We're going to stand by for that. We also have a number of other videos from overnight while most of us were sleeping that we will be airing, especially on Air Force One, as President Trump traveled from Saudi Arabia to Qatar, Doha to be specific. There are about 10 minutes that the president took questions from reporters on Air Force One, so we'll have that in its entirety a bit later in the broadcast. And we have a number of other moments that we'll show you as well from overnight. But right now it's about 4:48 p.m., 4:48 in the afternoon there in Qatar. So before we get to that live video there, if we see the president while we're doing various other things like a sponsor advertising read, we will still go to the president and we'll pick up that sponsor as they are very important to our company, of course, here at Right Side. All right, let's go to Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website. The QR code's on the screen as well. If you're looking for a backup plan to the U.S. dollar, I mean gold, silver, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all 100% tax-free. Thanks to Colonial Metals Group. You see it right there on your screen. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Also, if you'd like to go to angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas, of course, a lot of products on there. Angelpaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. You'll get that great discount off a great product. And also, they hire military veterans and a longtime great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so 9:45 or 9:49 on the East Coast. 4:49 in the afternoon out there in Doha. So we're going to go there live as soon as we see the President of the United States. Also, a bit later, again, we'll have about a 10-minute Q&A with reporters on Air Force One as the President traveled, again, from Riyadh to Doha. It's about 400 miles, 389 to be exact, to the east. He took those questions. We're going to air that for you live here on Right Side. Also, the president was speaking with other great people there in the Middle East and shaking hands with a number of people. So we'll have those various videos for you coming up. Also coming up today, this is National Police Week here in America. So the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is actually hosting an event at the Vice President's residence, a breakfast there. So it is, again, National Police Week. So we'll air that in its entirety a bit later in the broadcast here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's about 10 minutes to 10 o'clock on the East Coast. In the meantime, why don't we go to the Air Force One video? And what we'll do is, this is from overnight as President Trump was flying from Saudi Arabia to Qatar. So what we can do is we'll play that video for you. And then if the president shows up live in Qatar with that video there, we'll cut to that. And then we'll refinish playing the Air Force One recorded video from overnight. Hopefully you followed all that, but there's a lot of things to juggle right now with the time zone differences. So, Director, is that good? We can go to the Air Force One video? All right, let's go to the Air Force One video for now. And then, again, our crew here at Right Side is monitoring the live feed there in Doha. So as soon as they see the president, we'll cut to that feed. But in the meantime, let's go to the president from Air Force One overnight.
Fighters will be surrounding the plane in about 7 minutes. Oh, I heard they threw you out at the press conference.
They tried, but Caroline stopped them.
Caroline saved you. You're lucky. You're lucky. You were a little out of control.
How's the trip going so far? Well, I was asking you about your meeting with the Syrian
president. I think
president.
it's going well. Great relationships. And now we're meeting with a group that's fantastic. The Emir is a great guy. I know him all very well. How are you? Be surrounded by 8 fighters, in about 7 minutes. Then you say, do we need them? And when they say yes, that doesn't make me feel good, right?
What's the threat? Did they tell you what the threat is?
No, let's assume there's no threat. We have to assume that.
How did you find the Syrian president?
Great. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. Strong pass. Strong pass fighter.
Does that worry you
but
at all?
He's got a real shot at pulling it together. I spoke with President Erdogan, who I'm very friendly with him. He feels he's got a shot at doing a good job. It's a torn up country.
Do you think Syria will join the Abraham Accords?
Yeah, but I think they have to get themselves straightened out. I told him, I hope you're going to join when it's straightened out. He said yes. But they have a lot of work to do.
Lebanon, do you think there's a path for Lebanon to normalize relations with Israel?
A friend of mine is the new ambassador to Lebanon, and I didn't even know, and I never knew his relationship, but he was born in Lebanon, and he said, I'd like to be the ambassador. He's a very successful guy. And I said, that's very dangerous. He said, I don't care, I love my country, and it's worth it to do. Successful man to go and do that. I said, you sure you know what you're doing? It's like Doug taking pictures, right? So you got some good shots, I guess. That's a beautiful scene. The last scene at the airport I thought was beautiful. We rode out together. And they generally don't do that. They don't generally meet presidents.
There have been some reports of the Syrian president wanting a Trump Tower in Damascus. Did that come up at all?
No, that I haven't heard. We'll have to wait a little while. Everything's calmed down a little while with the country. I think he's got the potential. He's a real leader. And, he led a charge, and he's pretty amazing. But did you see him? Did you get to see him? He was there. He was with us at the event.
Did the PGA Tour or Live Golf come up at all in your conversations with the Crown Prince?
No. You mean the Live?
Yeah.
No, we didn't discuss it.
What about that the Saudi intelligence agent? The 9/11 families want the Saudi intelligence agent to be extradited to the United States to face charges for 9/11. Did that come up in conversation?
No, it didn't. But I know all about it, but it didn't come up.
On Israel, you're not going to Israel. Does this trip sideline Israel at all?
No, relationship like I have with these countries, Middle Eastern countries, essentially all of them, I think it's very good for Israel.
Can I ask you again on Israel? On the hostage deal, did any of your people speak with Israel about the release of the American hostage? I'm sorry, on the sanctions lifting of Syria.
He done.
Well, let me ask on Edom first. What credit does Israel deserve, if any, for that release of the hostage?
Well, they've been fighting a long time. They're warring, and I think they deserve a lot of credit. I think my people deserve a lot of credit, maybe the most credit. He wouldn't be there if it weren't for us. He wouldn't be living right now. Probably none of the hostages would be living right now. And we probably have 20 that are living that will be getting out step by step. We've gotten a lot of them out. And last time, a couple of weeks ago, 10 people walked into my office, the Oval Office, and they said they had a 59 on their shirt, in the front. And I said, what does that represent, the number of hostages? I said, wow, that's a lot. They said, well, 24 are living, and now it's 20. The number is 20 are living. 4 have died, and the young people don't die. Young people are killed, they don't die. So the 24 living of the 59, 24 living is now down to 20. And we got Edom out. It was great. His family was so thankful. We did a good job with it. We'll continue to do it.
What happens on Thursday if President Putin doesn't show up in Turkey for the talks with Ukraine? What will you do?
Well, I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that. Now, tomorrow, we're all booked out. You understand that? We're all set.
But you'd go if he
We're
goes?
going to go to UAE tomorrow. And so we have a very full situation. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But, yeah, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know that he would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Marco's going. And Marco's been very effective.
How are you feeling about how Putin is handling this? I know you had said a few weeks ago you thought maybe how Putin is handling this. You said a few weeks ago you thought maybe he was tapping
I'll let you know in a week. I'll let you know in a few days.
Mr. President, on Israel again, has any of your team been in touch with Israel, your team, about lifting the sanctions on Syria? What's their reaction?
Well, in touch. I mean, we told them we're doing it. The reason I did it, and I think it's been very popular, actually, certainly in the Middle East it's been popular with virtually everybody. But the reason I did it is because I spoke with President Erdogan, who I get along with very well, and I spoke to Mohammed, as you know, was with him, and they thought it was very important to do. It gives them a much better chance of survival as a country.
Can you share what Netanyahu thinks about it?
I think what's happened is Turkey feels we should do it. Other countries. If you looked at my speech last night, which I assume most of you were at, I think the biggest applause was when I said that we're lifting these sanctions on Syria, and that's because they want to give Syria a chance to live and to be great, etc.
Mr. President, an Emirati government backed firm did a $2 billion deal. An Emirati government backed firm did a $2 billion deal using the Trump digital coins. How did that deal come about?
I don't know anything about it. I really don't know anything about it, but I'm a big crypto fan, I will tell you. I've been that from the beginning, right from the campaign. I'm a believer in crypto, and if we're not going to do it, China's going to do it. The way I look at it, it's like AI. I'm a believer in AI because we have to have it. We're leading China by a lot. And in crypto, we're leading China by a lot. So I'm a big crypto fan.
You didn't know about that?
الرحمن الرحيم حضرة صاحب السمو
God, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Your Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Your Excellency President Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, representative of the media.
Distinguished guests and members of the media. سنشهد الآن التوقيع على اتفاقية في مجال الطيران بين دولة قطر والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
Now we will see the signing of the agreement of buying aircraft from Boeing. His Excellency Badr bin Abdul Amir will sign from the Qatari side, and Kelly Altberg will be signing on behalf of Boeing.
Between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Boeing purchase agreement signed on behalf of the State of Qatar by His Excellency Badr Mohammed Al-Mir, CEO of Qatar Airways Company, and behalf of the United States, Kelly Ortberg, President and CEO of the Boeing Company. We will now witness the signing of a number of agreements in the field of defense between the State of Qatar and the United States of America, signed on behalf of the State of Qatar by His Excellency Sheikh Saud bin Abdurrahman bin Hassan Al Thani, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State for Defense Affairs, and on behalf of the United States of America by the Honorable Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense of the United States of America. Firstly, a statement of intent on defense cooperation between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Secondly, a letter of offer and acceptance for MQ-9B aircrafts. And a letter of offer and acceptance, FS lids. Thank you. It is my honor to announce the signing of a joint declaration of cooperation between the State of Qatar and the United States of America. Signed on behalf of the State of Qatar by His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, and the Honorable Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. The signing ceremony has now come to an end, and now a joint statement from His Highness the Emir and the President.
Thank you very much. We had a couple of hours of great meeting with the President, and we discussed many issues, our great bilateral relationship, and also the situation in the region. Of course, I think after signing these documents, we are going to another level of relationship between Qatar and the United States. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. President, again for this historic visit. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And this has been
a very interesting couple of hours. We discussed the world. We discussed Russia and Ukraine, where you've been a tremendous help in so many different ways. We certainly discussed Iran, where it's been really an interesting situation. I have a feeling it's going to work out. I think it's going to work. It's got to work out one way or the other. We know it's going to work out. But you were of great help, and other things. But in particular, trade. The trade is the. Kelly's telling me from Boeing, it's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. That's pretty good. And that's 140. Was that a 140 or 160? Well, yeah, but you're right. It's actually 200, including the 40, so it's over $200 billion. But 160 in terms of the jets. That's fantastic. So that's a record, Kelly. And congratulations to Boeing. Get those planes out there. Get them out there. But I just want to thank you. We've been friends for a long time, long before politics. Well, for you it was politics. For me it wasn't, right? But we've been friends for a long time, and this is an outstanding man. He's a great man, and we're going to help each other. The United States is in a very strong position militarily. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. You're buying a lot of that equipment, actually, and I think we're going to see some of it in action tomorrow at the, we won't call it an air fair, but it's going to be sort of an air fair. We're going to be shown a display that's going to be incredible. They have the latest and the greatest of our planes and just about everything else. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting. But I just want to thank you for the friendship, for the long-time friendship. And again, long before any of this stuff, we just liked each other. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But we always had a very special relationship. And we came from Saudi Arabia, where we have another great man over there that's a friend of yours. And you two guys get along so well and like each other. You sort of remind me a little bit of each other, if you want to know the truth. They're both tall, handsome guys that happen to be very smart. But he's also a very special guy, and it's good to see all the relationships forming in the Middle East, because the Middle East is really being talked about all over the world, and we're having a lot to do with it. We're helping a lot, but they're doing a tremendous job. So I just want to thank everybody very much for being here. I want to thank the media. The media has been very fair, actually, and it's a great honor to be with you. This is, you take a look at this room. This room is the real deal. That's called white marble. It's very hard to buy. Believe me, I know very well, because you try to buy it, you can't buy it. And you just take a look at what you have here. It's been incredible what you've been able to build as a nation. And we're with you all the way, and you know that.
Thank you. The ceremony has now come to an end.
Feeling about how Putin is handling this. I know you had said a few weeks ago you thought maybe how Putin is handling this. You said a few weeks ago you thought maybe he was tapping you off.
I'll let you know in a few days.
Mr. President, on Israel again, has any of your team been in touch with Israel, your team, about lifting the sanctions on Syria? What's their reaction?
Well, in touch. I mean, we told them we're doing it. The reason I did it, and I think it's been very popular, actually, certainly in the Middle East it's been popular with virtually everybody. But the reason I did it is because I spoke with President Erdogan, who I get along with very well, and I spoke to Mohammed, as you know, who's with them, and they thought it was very important to do. It gives them a much better chance of survival as a country.
Can you share what Netanyahu thinks about it?
I think what's happened is Turkey feels we should do in other countries. So if you looked at my speech last night, which I assume most of you were at, I think the biggest applause was when I said that we're lifting these sanctions on Syria. And that's because they want to give Syria a chance to live and to be great, etc.
Mr. President, an Emirati government backed for did a $2 billion deal government-backed firm did a $2 billion deal using the Trump digital coins. How did that deal come about?
I don't know anything about it. I really don't know anything about it, but I'm a big crypto fan, I will tell you. I've been that from the beginning, right from the campaign. I'm a believer in crypto, and if we're not going to do it, China's going to do it. It's the way I look at it. It's like AI. I'm a believer in AI because we have to have it. We're leading China by a lot. And in crypto, we're leading China by a lot. So I'm a big crypto fan.
You didn't know about that?
No.
Senator Schumer said he wants to block your Justice Department political appointees until he gets answers about questions about the Qatari plane. What's your response?
Schumer's, he's become a Palestinian. Something wrong with him. I don't know. I've known him a long time, and there's something wrong. He's lost his confidence totally, and it's just something wrong with him. I don't know what it is with Schumer. Yeah, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Well, I've got two questions on Iran and Russia. Yeah. Are you still considering secondary sanctions on Iran's oil exports?
Let's see what happens over the next week. I don't really want to answer it because I want to see what happens over the next week. Go ahead.
Okay, and then on Iran and Russia, are you considering sanctions on Russia for supporting Iran and for the continued war in Ukraine?
Well, again, I don't want to talk about it, but I'm always considering the secondary sanctions. I had the secondary sanctions on Iran and drove them into bankruptcy, and there would have been no October 7th. There would have been no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. So I'm always, and as you know, I put secondary sanctions on Iran again. And hopefully they're going to make the right decision because something's going to happen one way or the other. Very simple. It's going to happen one way or the other. They can't be friendly. We'll do it very unfriendly, and that won't be pleasant. Thank you very much.
On the Qatari plane, Mr. President.
I don't float it, guys.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So that from overnight, as he was going from Saudi Arabia to Doha, and we have a lot of live coverage today. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Robert McNeely. Here we are at RSBN Live. Thanks so much for joining us.
Truly a pleasure to be with all of you as President Trump does a barn burner across the Gulf region. And success after success, $600 billion signing deal, $148 billion of that, I believe, is military related for the Saudis and the United States, and unprecedented to have a couple of items here in the last few hours. The Saudi Crown Prince coming to greet President Trump on that purple runway, that tarmac there. That is not done. He usually has a subordinate go and do that for a foreign leader. And then he walked him away to say goodbye. So really special there. Clearly a beautiful friendship budding between those two world leaders. And then the Qatari Air Force, amazing to escort Air Force One into their airspace and Doha. It's an amazing day for the United States, a golden era, truly, once again.
And it's great, Qatar just gave over that plane. I mean, this is the video of the Qatari fighter jets alongside Air Force One, flying that 389-mile trek from Riyadh to Doha. So this is the Qatari military there flying alongside Air Force One. That was what you just saw prior to this video, was live from Doha, where President Trump was signing a number of documents there. And what an awesome scene this is right here, Robert.
Oh, it's beautiful. And as we were mentioning off camera, Matthew, you said that it's incredible to watch these cities, the way they've grown. Really, in our lifetimes, this was just desert. This was nothing. This was Sunni Shia fighting one another, fighting also the Jews in the Middle East and Israel. Now that's all come to an end with the Abraham Accords, and give credit where credit's due. This all goes back to, I think, the one thing the Carter administration did well, the peace between Egypt and Israel started that momentum, and clearly that two-state solution between Hamas and Israel not necessarily working. We'll see as those negotiations continue, but look what President Trump accomplished with the Abraham Accords. Now returning back to that, it's Abraham Accords 2.0. There's peace in the Middle East, and the radical Iranian mullahs really they have their backs against the ropes here.
Exactly. All of this brought to you by some great sponsors, including allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, ivermectin, methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine. These are things I didn't even know about back in the day before COVID. But then when COVID hit, you're like, I want those kind of drugs to be able to take care of COVID. And many places you just can't find it.
And it's sad to think about blood pressure medication or a sick child not being available to get them help in those early morning hours, say it's Sunday night going into Monday morning. That's why allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN exists. And you have that great deal right there, RSBN 10, RSBN 10 for 10% off. If you can't get those items because they're out of stock or someone doesn't want you to have them, like Big Pharma, thank God for President Trump's executive order the other day, well, you can go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. They have doctors ready 24/7 to make sure that medication gets right to your doorstep. No insurance, no hassle, just peace of mind.
And also, you could bulk order if you'd like, so just have it in advance for several months. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's shift over to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, there's many things to bet or trade on out there. You know, the other day, Elon Musk talking about Kalshi as well. This is an advertiser, but a company that is growing with popularity where you can really bet and trade on mostly anything.
Oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like, will egg prices continue to go down? Will you see any skyrocketing in inflation? Will the Dodgers win the World Series? It's all kinds of questions like that. And even recently, who will be the Canadian Prime Minister? We know that's Mark Carney now. So all those questions right there for you at Kalshi, right under our chins. So go scan that QR code now or go to Kalshi.com/RSBN, and a great way to trade and bet on the most recent events.
And the QR code is right there. All right, let's go to that video again of the Qatari fighter air jets. Let's just play it in full, listen in on that. Just an awesome scene from moments ago. All right, so there you go. Get a good feel of the Qatari fighter jets there along Air Force One. And we also have video of when President Trump landed. But also, you know, this is all overnight video. I mean, this is all when, of course, we were sleeping here in the country. And but a lot being done today, isn't there?
Well, there's so much. And really it goes back to the Autopet administration. What I was concerned with even yesterday, watching all of these successes, how do we survive 4 years of Joe Biden? Even India and Pakistan had a heated conflict recently. It's a generations-old battle between the two, which could have ended up in nuclear war. And we really did not know who was in charge during the last administration. And do you think Kamala Harris could have handled any of this that's going on the last few hours, from the EO on the prescription drugs and the big pharma? Now Dick Durbin and Chuck Grassley have a bill coming together. Of course, the chairman and respective ranking member of Senate Judiciary, in a bipartisan fashion. People are going to be watching this because that's something that affects everyone, is the cost of much needed either viral, bacterial medication, whatever it might be, and stuff you have to take. No one should have to break the bank in order to get the life-saving medication that they need. And it's a bipartisan issue. So this president has the kahunas to do it, the backbone, as Secretary Kennedy said. And wasn't that great, just a mic drop before going on this big, really first foreign trip? Of course, you want to see Pope Francis's funeral at the Holy See, but this is the first major diplomatic mission post all of those celebrations just a couple of weeks ago.
And speaking of foreign policy, tomorrow a very huge day for Russia and Ukraine. Thursday, of course, tomorrow in Turkey, the two leaders are actually meeting, Zelensky and Putin, and that, to your point, It's thanks to President Trump. I mean, he's getting the job done, and he's going lightning speed. We see it happening. We also saw President Trump landing in Qatar, so let's go to that video where he landed, and then to see the greeting there from the Qatari government. And then we have a few more videos from overnight we'll show you. Also, anything live, we'll bring it to you right here on RSBN Live. Let's go to that video.
And President Trump in the Beast, a great vehicle, a very safe vehicle, in Doha, Qatar. And two extremely honorable things to happen, not only in Qatar with the Air Force escorting Air Force One, but the White Stallions in Saudi Arabia. That's a high honor in the Saudi Arabian culture. So one of the things I'm sad about, and a criticism I have of my own country, I feel like we don't really teach about other cultures. We don't understand different gifts, different things to honor another world leader. For example, just going to the George W. Bush Library, an African leader gifted him with a male lion that he had killed on safari. And that's a high honor to give to another man in that culture. He gave him Shaquille O'Neal's sneakers from basketball, as a big basketball fan. So we have to understand these things because that's how diplomacy works, when you really get to the nitty-gritty of understanding someone else. And I think of the modern presidents, no one understands it better and completely destroyed the ethos of the neocon, neoliberal philosophy yesterday in that speech, really talking about, I want to get to know you. I believe in sovereignty. God is ultimately the judge. I'm the defender of America. That was a clear message of the Trump doctrine. No one's done it better.
A great speech yesterday in Riyadh, as you guys saw here on RSBN Live. Thanks again for joining us right now. It's 10:24 in the morning here on the East Coast. Also, it is, I think it's 5:24 in the afternoon, 5:24 p.m. out there in Qatar. So we'll be going to a number of videos from overnight as well, as the president greeted a number of the Qatari leaders, the government leaders there. Looking forward to that. The deal that was just signed by President Trump and the Qatari leader, Qatar signs an agreement with Boeing to purchase 160 aircraft. That's the largest order in the American company's history, that per Carolyn Levitt, who is on the trip there. So, you know, a lot of news happening as we cover it here live, including domestically back here in the States. It's National Police Week. So the vice president having that prayer event or a breakfast, at least, at the Vice President's residence.
Yes, a wonderful thing to honor so many of our service members and, thank them whenever you see them. You don't have to necessarily buy them something, but always nice to get a cup of coffee or something simple just to say thank you for literally putting your life on the line, because people are willing to do that, and that's out of deep, deep love for their community and their country to put on that uniform. As President Trump is off to the races, recorded earlier, as he touched down in Doha, Qatar. I'm really excited to see the Gulf states. Hopefully we'll get over there at some point.
Yeah, well, the Gulf states in the Middle East, but also the Gulf states here in America, too.
They're just as beautiful. I mean, you can compare the beaches. It's comparable. There's no question about it.
Yeah, definitely gorgeous stuff. So that is the beast, as you said there, Robert. It's great to see the president there. I posted a photo of President Trump when he first landed in Saudi Arabia. It was just this very powerful picture of him just coming down off that plane. And I just simply said, the leader of the free world. Isn't it awesome?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a great day to be in this golden era and high diplomacy done right. And it's the business acumen, it's common sense. And as he said to his joint address to Congress on March 5th of this year, just needed to change the president. That's all we needed. And you're seeing that with the expertise of this cabinet. Susie Wiles, Caroline Leavitt, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, all alongside, including Steve Witkoff, on this amazing journey throughout the Middle East. And there's something about Air Force One with the backdrop of the desert. I don't know why. It's maybe there's that sunshine on it, but it looks better than ever.
It does. And then in Arizona, it looks great then. Right. California, anywhere it's blue skies and beautiful. To your point, the other day, Joint Base Andrews, I was watching coverage with you, and there was a split screen. It showed Air Force One. It was just this perfect shot. And I think it was actually getting ready, as he was getting ready to go to the Middle East. So, yeah, looking forward to a lot of the coverage here throughout the week. Of course, tomorrow he'll be in the United Arab Emirates, so we'll go to Abu Dhabi. But before he does, we also have some video we'll show you in just a bit as President Trump shook hands with a number of people in Qatar. And then also, when President Trump was sitting with the Emir of Qatar, we're hearing that the Qatari government was saying to him, you're the first president ever to visit the country. So we have all of that coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, brought to you by some great sponsors, from everything from Tax Network to Colonial Metals Group, All Family Pharmacy, including Brightcore, mybrightcore.com/RSBN. You see that information on your screen, and the probiotic gut health immune support, man, it's good stuff.
Well, it gets you thinking clearly, because sometimes it might be that brain fog. It might be like, why am I just tired at work? It could all be the health in your gut. So having something made in America like Brightcore's Kimchi One can get your day just started really great, and then you don't lose that energy as you're going on, that lag that you can get at that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock hour. It's non-existent when you're taking care of your gut with immune support, anti-aging properties. So don't delay. Call today, 888-722-0936. When you call, you receive the additional 25% off. So if you could sneak away from that cubicle, maybe give that phone call over the lunch hour, or if not, of course, mybrightcore.com/RSBN with code RSBN still gets you 25% off. So a good deal either way. But again, give a call today and see how this can become part of your health regimen on a daily basis.
The interview with Kim Bright, the owner of Brightcore, just the other day was just really, really inspiring. If you haven't checked it out, you can go to Rumble and check out that interview from the other day. We'll also play that, I'm sure, again here in the near future. Speaking of great sponsors and great people, Mike Lindell, MyPillow.com, and those Giza Dream Sheets. I said to my wife the other day, I said, can you say Giza Dream Sheets 3 times fast? Because I tripped up saying Giza Dream Sheets the other day. If you want to try it, go ahead. But $49, use that RSBN promo code. Those sheets are awesome, though, really.
You know, it's the Gaza Dream Sheets that President Trump will be instituting on this trip. I'm just kidding. But Giza, actually known for the Mediterranean and that air that comes through. It's beautiful cotton that's all taken here and then produced at his Minnesota factory. So everything made or produced right here in America. It's almost as good as Alabama cotton, but it's countless good, over 2,000 items that Mike Lindell has. Again, don't delay. Call today, 800-836-7566. Only $49.98. Any size, any color. He's a master marketer. President Trump said it 2 weeks ago in Warren, Michigan. I have a fun story I think Mike won't mind me sharing. We were walking in together to the venue, so it was good catching up with Mike Lindell, his team, excellent people over working for Mr. Mike Lindell in a number of different capacities. And he mentioned how excited he was for, of course, the 100 days. We're talking about that. Someone came up from behind him and said, "I gotta get a selfie with you, sir." Well, it was an ambush from the left. And they said, "I debated you at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee." And he said, "Oh yeah, I remember you. I crushed you." But it was always in this jovial, beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
He's just a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And it really comes across in his business, in his fight for the First Amendment, and his fight for election integrity. There's no one better out there. So support Mike Lindell and RSBN by going to mypillow.com/RSBN.
All right, it's 10:30, the bottom of the hour, 10:30 Eastern time. It's 5:30 right there live as you see the beautiful Old Glory, our United States flag next to the Qatari flag there in Doha. That's a live picture. We will be going back there live for anything we see here at the network when it comes to live feeds. Also, we did see how the president met the leader of Qatar as well. We have that video. We'll play that here shortly. And then when they were at the government offices there and you saw President Trump sit down with the leader of the emir, and he said to him, he says, "This is the first time you visited our country, or a president has visited our country from the United States." So a lot of history in the making as well for this great trip out there in the Middle East.
It's extraordinary to watch because these are people that were not very open to dialogue or discussion in the past. Things have modernized, things have changed, and American foreign policy has changed. President Trump said that the living former presidents, the predecessors of his, would take their own diplomatic missions of avenging sin into their own hands. That was a direct hit at George W. Bush for the invasion of Iraq. It destabilized the region. It led to ISIS. It's what the CIA calls blowback. And we know 20 plus years later, it was an absolute mistake. There were no weapons of mass destruction. And it's amazing that someone can still defend their egregious foreign policy years later.
That is a great point, and that's a whole rabbit trail we can get into if we want rabbit hole, because, I mean, the amount of fake news coming out of GW back in the day, holy smokes. 10:32, Wednesday, May 14th. Thanks again for joining us here live as we cover this Middle East trip. This is 3 nations for the president, of course, yesterday, Saudi Arabia, today, Qatar, tomorrow, the United Arab Emirates. Director, do we have that video of the president meeting with the Emir after coming down the steps of the airplane there, Air Force One? And then also we can toss to some more video of the 2 leaders meeting.
Yes, we got it.
Okay, let's go to that video right now.
Matthew was just mentioning to me off camera the ornate, beautiful palaces, the gorgeous nature of the strip. It's incredible. President Trump is enjoying all of that. Gold lining these beautiful palaces, whether it is in Saudi Arabia or Qatar, and I'm sure UAE will be on full display as well. But what does that mean for you, the American people? freegoldguy.com/RSBN is your go-to for Colonial Metals Group. Paul Stone, the great CEO of this organization, has been on our show multiple times to talk about what's happening. $36 trillion in debt, the Chinese Communist Party throwing reciprocal tariffs, war games with Taiwan, one of our biggest trading partners. So whether it's properties, assets, 401k, IRAs, I'm sure the viewers do have all of that at home. How does gold and silver fit into your portfolio? So important in this day and age because President Trump, part of this trip, is also fixing the trading of the petrodollar that used to be with the United States and led by the Saudis in the Middle East. That all changed under AutoPen as they started to trade those petrodollars with the Chinese yen. Hugely egregious and affecting our currency in the long run. So paper money can't protect you, but gold and silver can. Up over 7,000% gold specifically since 1971 when the Nixon administration went off of the gold standard. So you want to scan that QR code now. Shield your savings today. Judge Janine Pirro endorses it, and she's going to be serving our great country as the interim D.C. attorney at the federal court there. So, gosh, I feel bad for any illegal immigrants that come before her arguments or anyone who breaks the law in D.C. under her jurisdiction. Watch out.
Yeah, definitely watch out there. All right, so that's freegoldguy.com/RSBN. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as it's 10:39 Eastern Time, Wednesday, May 14th. Of course, we can go to that next sponsor now if you'd like. There you go. It is Tax Network USA, of course. 800-357-1415 is the number. Looking for any, settling back taxes, you can do that with this patriotic group right there. Tax Network USA, tnusa.com/RSBN. Great company there, Bobby.
Oh, an outstanding one. Protect yourself from the IRS. We know that. AutoPen put into place countless thousands, in fact, new IRS agents. Well, a lot of them are helping on the border now with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Marines. But call today. Do not delay. 800-357-1415. The Patriot experts at Tax Network USA want to help you settle those back taxes and fix any mistakes that could have happened from this last cycle or even those taxes ahead of time as well. tnusa.com/RSBN.
All right, so about 10:40 on the East Coast, 5:40 Qatari time out there in the Middle East. So it's Wednesday, May 14th. Thanks again for streaming in with us as we follow everything we can get when it comes to live feeds, recorded feeds from overnight with President Trump visiting Qatar. We actually have video of he and the Emir meeting at the palace there, sitting down. And this is a soundbite that is being played around the world. It's trending. It's simply something about the fact that President Trump is the first president from the United States to ever visit this country. Take a look.
Thank you for allowing me. First of all, welcome to Qatar. We're extremely honored to have you here. We're very excited, very happy. It's a historic visit. And I don't know if you know that you are the first American president to officially to visit Qatar. Right? So we're very honored. We're very honored. We're going to have great agenda today. We're going to be discussing a lot of things. Of course, what's going between us, our great bilateral relationship, whether it's investments, energy, military cooperation, security as well. So we're very excited. Also, one of the very important thing is bringing peace in the region. Mr. President, I've known you for many years. I know that you're a man of peace. I know that you want to bring peace to this region. We all want to do so. And we hope that this time we can do the right thing and bring peace here in the region, Mr. President. Also, two exciting things in your country. You're going to be hosting the World Cup, football, and as you guys call it, soccer. You're going to be also hosting the Olympics as well, which is very, 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 very important. The two biggest sports events. We were lucky that in 2022 we had the World Cup here in Qatar, and there wasn't one incident during the World Cup. You did a great job. We had 1.5 million people during these couple of weeks. We didn't have one incident. So we are also sharing our experience on how to deal with the World Cup with your security forces. We have people visiting each other. So once again, Mr. President, thank you for this visit, and you're welcome here in Qatar.
Well, I have to say that we've been friends for a long time. Hard to believe, right? I remember that first meeting very well. And we've liked each other and we've worked with each other. And now we can work in the highest capacity. And we'll bring peace not only here, but I know you're very much involved in helping us in other regions, like what's happening with Russia, Ukraine, etc. And I think we're having some pretty good news coming out of there today and maybe tomorrow and maybe Friday, frankly. But we'll see about that. But I just want to thank you for everything, and maybe in particular our friendship. It's been a very loyal, great, beautiful friendship. And the job you've done is second to none. You look at this, it's so beautiful. As a construction person, I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto. And just a great job you've done, and what a beautiful place. And we appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time. And that was some greeting. We appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You have a lot of fun.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so 10:43 Eastern Time. You saw the president there meeting with the Emir of Qatar, the leader of that country, and looking at that beautiful image there with the American flag and the Qatari flag there, as President Trump is in day 2 of his Middle East trip. So we're looking forward to the coverage for Abu Dhabi tomorrow as well.
Yes, peace, strength, and prosperity. That is the mission. And extraordinary to see these 3 nations, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, the way they have grown in the past really 20, 30 years. It's extraordinary. They are highlighting not only the World Cup, the Olympics coming to Qatar as well, all on the heels of the big World Cup coming to Atlanta, Georgia, and throughout our country just next year. If you saw that FIFA World Cup, it's in the Oval Office right now, and it's big, it's beautiful, it's gold, and it has a big, beautiful gold key as well that opens it up. So as the Emir was mentioning, security forces working with the United States as well to make sure that goes smoothly. You can never prepare too much for the world coming to your country.
Exactly. Before we go to a commercial break, we have 2 domestic stories to talk to you about. One, just to talk about it quick, National Police Week. And then also you were talking about Big Beautiful. Well, Big Beautiful Bill. We have a post from President Trump. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin. All the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back. As we await any more live feeds from Qatar and President Trump's visit there, let's talk some domestic policy here. When President Trump talking about this week, saying Republicans are meeting in the Tax, Energy, and Ag committees on major pieces of the one big, beautiful bill. So Republicans, he's saying, need to unify behind their highly respected chairman. And this post is a very lengthy post, but at the end of the day, having things come together for President Trump's agenda, by the way, that we, the people, the majority of us, voted for.
You know, and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy mentioned as well that he would like to see the funding for the new TSA and FAA programs overhauling all of these radars, hundreds, in fact, that will be replaced because we know Pete Buttigieg was the DEI hire at Transportation, have to fix all of that. So he'd like to see that in the big, beautiful bill, but also if Congress wants to allocate that separately because it's looking around $300 billion, that's a possibility as well. But we are watching you, Kentucky Republicans, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, for different reasons, seem to want to be against President Trump and the legislative agenda of making America great again. Get on board or there will be a primary. I mean, it's very clear. And of course, they have different missions, all three of them, in their own respects. But it's kind of ridiculous to grandstand up against this president who's working overtime to save the country.
Exactly. As Secretary Duffy said the other day, President Trump fixes problems. He doesn't cause problems. And he was referring to the Newark airport radar situation with the air traffic control problems. So there's a software update for that, but they also are wanting to have, as to your point, an overhaul of the entire system there. There were problems in Atlanta the other day. I know you were involved.
Oh, yeah, I was involved in that.
Yeah, you had a problem with flying from Chicago to Atlanta. So this is not something that we really deal well with in this country as the flying public. We want to get to where we have to go. And we know that President Trump and Sean Duffy are taking care of business on that front. Also, of course, just shifting gears slightly, watching some fake news media yesterday and some others. And, it's just interesting to see all of the great things that are happening in conservative media right now. A lot of people, switching over and watching. So thank you so much for streaming in and watching us live and other conservative media as we continue to bring forth that right side of history messaging, which is really what we believe in here at the network.
Well, thank you to Caroline Levitt, the press office, also the communications department, Stephen Chung as well in the White House. I mean, an extraordinary job to have that special seat for new media, whitehouse.gov/new media. So especially if you're graduating college right now, congratulations to all the graduates, especially those here in Tiger Town, Auburn University. But if you are starting a podcast, whatever you're working on, why not apply? Because your voice can be heard now in an extraordinary way and amplified on a level not seen ever before. So you have the prowess, you have the wherewithal. Go after it because your voice matters, and you can get that to corners of the country that might not be interested in what the lamestream has to say because we know that they're putting up a false narrative.
Yeah, 100%, and they do it 100% of the time. Sometimes it looks like it's true, but that's exactly what a lie is. Sometimes it's a little bit of a truth, a little bit of lie. We know what they've been doing on the left for a long time, but outside of that, speaking of commencement and graduation, May 24th, the president will speak at West Point in New York to the U.S. Army grads there, so we'll have that coverage. And then June 14th, the huge parade for the U.S. Army, that's a Saturday. We'll have that coverage as well. In the meantime, all of this brought to you by some great sponsors, but not only that they're just great just from the surface level, these are great people that are patriotic, that work for America here. So allfamilypharmacy.com, imagine needing that medication and being told you can't have it. Ivermectin, methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine. You have to be able to have access to what you want when it comes to these kind of essential medications. They have more than 200. They have antibiotics. You can order bulk as well. So it's a great company there.
Yeah, it's your go-to, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Code RSBN10, 10% off for you and your family because you have to stock that medicine cabinet. We had David McCary on recently, a pharmacist for this great organization. He said, think about this, with all the storms, especially this region of the country in the southeast, Western North Carolina, Tennessee just getting really hit with so many goofy storms over the course of the last 6 months. What if you can't get down the street and you need that life-saving medication because your spouse has the blood pressure or a child is facing a spiked fever and then everything else is shut down? What are you to do? You can't be unprepared in a day and age such as this. And then on top of that, that's why President Trump, one of the reasons he signed that executive order, Big Pharma sometimes wants to prevent you from these life-saving medications like ivermectin, methylene blue, again, over 200 essential medications, all found at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can order at 3 in the morning if you have to, and they'll ship that overnight. So get that to your door under 24 hours.
Exactly. Let's shift over to Spring, Texas. Angelpaste.com, many products on there. Great products, great sponsor right here at Right Side.
Yes, and Christian-owned. They hire veterans out of the Lone Star State and beyond. But Spring, Texas and the Houston Metroplex, they know a thing or two about mosquitoes this time of year as you get ready for your summer barbecues and the 4th of July. But you don't want that nasty stuff that gets sprayed all over the place. It's actually one of my pet peeves, and that gets on the hot dogs, the hamburgers, in your beer, and like you're poisoning people. This has all natural products, non-GMO, no chemicals. The Miracle Cream to the Immunity Cream to the facial spray and that natural mosquito spray, among other products at angelpaste.com. It truly is a miracle. Your skin will be glowing. It's good for guys and gals, so get on out there. Paint the town red with angelpaste.com.
All right, so great sponsors there. We're about 8 minutes from the top of the hour here on the East Coast, about 11 a.m., approaching that hour. Approaching 6 p.m. out there in Qatar right now. As we see any live feeds, we have our team monitoring anything that we'll see from the president there with the leader of Qatar, as he will be going to Abu Dhabi tomorrow or overnight hours for us to go to the United Arab Emirates. So yeah, we're seeing a lot get done, a lot of signings happening. I mean, the Qatari government just purchasing more than 100 Boeing aircraft. Speaking of aircraft, let's go to that video again, which was pretty fun to see. Wasn't it awesome to see the other governments of these countries saying, you know what, there's Air Force One, let's protect and provide a service coming into each of the airspaces, whether it was Saudi Arabia or there in Qatar.
Yes, a high honor, and this is on the heels of the Saudi Arabian government welcoming the beast with the Crown Prince, also President Trump, in the limo that securely helps our president travel, whether domestically or internationally, with those white stallions accompanying that. That's a high honor in Saudi Arabia, and this is also a high honor here in Qatar to have this Air Force detail. And I love how President Trump said to the press on board, you're going to be surrounded by about 8 different MiGs, so don't fear, we are not to worry. And then one of those fake news reporters at one of those big networks, so-called, said, "Oh, is there a threat?" It just started yelling out these questions. I'm just amazed at how unprofessional she is at times, but you know, it will never change. And then President Trump sets it straight, either ignores her or says, "You're a really nasty person." So every once in a while that has to happen.
It's always fun when President Trump or anybody within the cabinet really just shuts down the fake news, especially when they're coming at them, first of all, yelling, and then second of all, without even the truth. I mean, that you look like an actual fool when you do that. You know, if you're yelling at somebody and you're not even right, whatever. All right, anyway, so let's talk about airplanes. Let's talk about the F-47. How awesome will that be for our United States government, the United States Air Force? You know, this is that 6th generation fighter jet. And you know what's really awesome, I think, about what President Trump said at that Commander-in-Chief ball that you were at back on January 20th. Can you believe, first of all, it's been 6 months? Since November 5th, when he won the election, but 3 months and about 10 days since the election. But anyway, or the inauguration day, and he said he wants to have a military that's so strong that we wouldn't even have to use it. So that's that peace through strength personified.
100%. It's the way to go, and it's a playbook out of Reagan's wherewithal and everything he tried to accomplish and did very well at. But President Trump doubled downing on pretty much everything. It's Trump 2.0 in office, ready to go. And I think there's almost, as bad as it was, as he's mentioned on this trip, that there was that rigged election in 2020, it's almost more bittersweet in a way that he's come back the way he has. To have this political comeback and to show that bravery, to show that momentum as he spoke to students at the University of Alabama just a couple of weeks ago now at their commencement. Never, ever quit and have that momentum. And he said, gosh, I'd pay for that youth once again, and using that to go into the working world or whatever you want to accomplish. And I can echo that, not that much older than some of those who have graduated. But yes, keep that momentum going as this president has the wind at his sails, probably unlike any of his living predecessors did, because it's promises made, promises kept. He backs up what he says. It's not veiled threats. It's not false promises. It's, we're going to do this, and we're going to find every way to get there. And that's why it was a surprise announcement yesterday, but something that why the Saudis really respect the president. He's going to give a chance for the Syrian government now to have this great prosperity, peace through strength, economic success like the Gulf states are. We'll see if they harness that energy, but that will be yet to see with no more of the tariffs and also with the sanctions against the Syrian government.
Exactly. So the leader of the free world continues his 3-nation tour across the Middle East. So that is the international news topping headlines right now. We do have some national news as well, as it's National Police Week. The Vice President of the United States at the Vice President's residence with the police, because there was a breakfast today honoring National Police Week. Let's go to that video.
How we doing, guys? Good. Okay, good. Have you started to eat yet? I know. Okay, that's good. That would be rude if you did. That's good. Oh, what's up, guys? How are you? Hey, good. How are you? Hey, how you doing? Good. Welcome, guys. Good to see you too. How are you? Good. Good. Thanks for having you guys on. Yeah. Mac, congratulations. Big day, huh? Thank you. Good to see you. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Good morning, guys. Blake, how are we doing?
Good, Mr. Vice President. We're looking forward to you cutting ribbon at our new training village for our police department.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it too. Hey guys, how we doing? Well, okay, let me say a few words of welcome here. Please take your seats. And let me just say a few things here. First of all, this is National Police Week is a big thing, as I learned in the United States Senate. It's in a lot of ways a very celebratory occasion because you guys get to come to town and spend some time with your legislators. But it's also very good for the legislators and even vice presidents to be able to get to spend some time with law enforcement officers to keep us safe, to understand what issues you care about. And let me just say that the president is in the Middle East right now. I believe he just landed in Qatar just a few hours ago. But we love you guys, and we're grateful for the job that you do, and our administration has made a very proud commitment to stand by American law enforcement. Paul, good to see you, man. We got the whole crew here. This is really the all-star crew. But if you think about what that means, there's a policy component to it, and I think there's just a moral leadership component to it. The policy component is we want to make it easier for police officers to do their jobs. We want to make it harder for people to sue police officers when they're acting appropriately in the line of duty. We want to make it sure so that when you guys are out there keeping us safe, and you're of course worried about all the bad guys, you're not also worried about bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. preventing you from doing the job that the American people need you to do. That is that's the substance of the executive order the president signed just a few weeks ago. That's the substance of a lot of our commitments to our law enforcement. But there's also, less about policy and more about moral leadership. And, as I said earlier, this is a very celebratory occasion. We'd love to have you guys here. This is a big week on Capitol Hill, as I remember from my time in the Senate. But this is also, for me, and I imagine for a lot of you, I know for Dan, a very solemn moment, because just a few days ago, we lost an officer in Cincinnati. And the story there is actually worth telling in full because it's worth appreciating exactly what happened. I actually first heard about this from my wife, our lovely second lady, who told me that, a few weeks ago, I guess, a man was killed by a police officer. The police officer, the body cam footage showed, was totally justified. He was doing his job and keeping the people of Cincinnati safe. And the gentleman who was killed, his father, started to hate police because of it. And maybe he already hated police before then, but he decided he wanted to take revenge on police. Not even on the officer who took the life of his son, but on a totally different police officer, just to exact revenge against the police in that area of the country, which of course is my hometown. And what happened is a police officer who had just actually retired but returned to special duty in the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department. He was helping people at the University of Cincinnati when he was mowed down by a bloodthirsty criminal who exacted revenge for something a police officer was actually legally entitled to do. And that, of course, is, and I want to make sure I get his name right, that's Deputy Henderson, Larry Henderson, who lost his life because he was doing his job and keeping people safe. And when I think about why that senseless crime happened, obviously you've got to place blame on the guy who committed the crime, but I also think a lot of blame falls on American leadership, who for too long have made our police officers out to be enemies instead of the great public servants that all of us know that they are. So know, from the president on down, this administration stands behind you guys. We love you guys. We know that you're out there doing a good job for us. And I think that moral leadership matters just as much as the public policy, but from this administration, you're of course going to get both. So thank you all, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. I want to give a couple of shout outs here because this is a very special day for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, we've got the great Mac here, who today becomes, right, it's today, becomes the leader of the uniformed division of the Secret Service, which is a very, very big deal. And your guys and gals do a great job for us, and we're grateful to them, but obviously for your leadership as well. We've got the great Paul Perez here, who represents our Border Patrol and Border Patrol officers. I thought we had, somebody told me we had Jeff Simpson, but I don't see Jeff. Is Jeff here? Okay, he wasn't able to make it, okay. Well, maybe he's watching on TV. Jeff, I'm sorry you couldn't make it, but we're thrilled to have you here. And then Dan Hill is from my hometown of Cincinnati. Dan, it's good to see you, man, and please give Deputy Henderson's family our best. Yes, sir. And then a couple of other folks I want to shout out. So I believe we have Lieutenants Hudson and Jarbo. Lieutenant Hudson, where are you? Okay, great. And Jarbo, there you are. So these guys actually, think about the trade that these guys make. So they are the most active participants, I believe, in the motorcades that we do all around Washington, D.C. And if you think about it, every single day, rain or shine, in freezing cold weather, they get out there, they keep us safe, they clear traffic, they make it possible for me to do the job that I do. Again, they're on duty every day helping us. And that's what I get out of this relationship. And out of this relationship, you guys get free breakfast one day. So I think that I'm the winner in the grand scheme of things, but we appreciate your service. And to all of you guys, I can't give everybody a shout out, but we're really thrilled to have you and really grateful for the work that you do. So before we eat, I want to do this proper here. I want to introduce, let me get the name here right. Where do we have? Lieutenant Joe Gamaldi. Where's Lieutenant Gamaldi? Joe, thank you. Come on up here and give us a blessing before we eat. And everybody, enjoy your breakfast, and thanks for joining us at our home this morning. God bless you.
Let us bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly.
All right, so the cameras there, of course, not our cameras with the whole glitch situation, but still, great to see the vice president there with the police, really honoring the blue.
Yes, always a special moment at One Naval Observatory. That's the official residence, the temporary home of the Vice President of the United States, on loan from the Navy, actually. So I believe the first Vice President, I want to say that was Gerald Ford, who lived there. I might be wrong about that. Prior to that, the Nixon administration, the vice president would have to find his own property and live amongst D.C. or the suburbs, and they didn't get as much of the perks as, say, the president
exactly
in the past.
So we're going to jump around a little bit from international to domestic news. On the international front, of course, we're monitoring anything live from Qatar with President Trump. Also, on the domestic side, the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem talking about the budget. We'll go to that video in just a bit. Switching back to international news, though, for tomorrow, big day in Turkey, because Russia and Ukraine, Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Zelensky, to meet in Turkey tomorrow to talk about this hopeful peace deal that will happen. Robert, to your point, maybe President Trump will stop by. We have no intel on that, but whether he stops by or not, it's going to be quite great to see, hopefully, a country, both countries stop the war.
Yes, ideally, and I think they both seem to want that, whether it's from Putin or Zelensky. There have been this back and forth, this tit for tat, but you do have President Erdogan of Turkey and the Turkish government to be the mediators there. But I think that would be in true President Trump fashion, just to add one more leg of the trip, because this is going so well so far. Not to cut off anything from the UAE and their respective representatives, but I'm sure that will go well and might just be slightly cut short in order to go to Turkey. Now, this is all speculation at the moment, but President Trump, this is a highlight of his foreign policy to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And knowing that he has good relationships with really all leaders, even though he's tough at times with several of them, he has been in the past, they can all come back to that table, have these discussions. And that really was seen with Zelensky at the Vatican in that moment. That finalized that minerals deal. So those beautiful minerals coming to the United States, minerals also included in the Saudi Arabian deal as well. So a lot of people will ask, well, what does minerals, mean for us? Well, a lot of them are actually in the things we carry around in our pockets. So it means lower cost and more affordability, especially for our middle class. It goes hand in hand, international security with financial and economic stability in the United States.
Exactly, and you bring up a great point. At the Vatican, when President Trump was sitting right across from Vladimir Zelensky, there were 2 chairs in the middle of that huge hall. And that's where things really, I think, got done there.
Right.
Because, you go through all of the mess that it was when Zelensky showed up at the Oval Office months ago. And then you've got the envoy, Steve Witkoff, and others speaking with Putin to get this all done. Now, both leaders, the Ukrainian leader, the Russian leader, tomorrow in Turkey. Definitely a lot of news to follow, especially if President Trump were to stop by. But even if he doesn't, to your point, Turkey will mediate that. And hopefully we'll see a peace deal there. So a lot of international news going on. We will soon go to the Department of Homeland Security budget hearing with Kristi Noem as we await any more videos from Qatar when it comes to live feeds. But let's go to that Air Force One video as well. I mean, he was traveling from Saudi Arabia to Qatar, about a 400-mile trip. And spoke to the press there. And then I know you were on Air Force One a few weeks back, and that experience was awesome, of course. And it's great to have a president that has this truth and historic transparency happening for our country and for we the people. So we really understand what's going on. He's not hiding behind anything.
And it's a gift to our career choice, because our job, that's the dirty secret amongst the media. Everyone loves President Trump because he is so accessible. It helps us do our jobs. We can show you point blank what he's saying. And here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, unlike all the others, including many in the new media, which we're rooting them on, they're friends of ours, we literally have everything for you, unbridled access. We bring you all the speeches, all the hearings, because we want you to make up your mind at the end of the day, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever your ideological reasoning or where you line on that scale. But it doesn't really matter, because it's the right side of history, not even necessarily the conservative side. We're saying the correct side of history, but ultimately we want you to make that up for yourself. So the media does love President Trump and all he does to be transparent, including his administration. And that's a reason why I think he picks some of the great people he has, not only subject matter experts in the cabinet, they're also great at media. Many have been hosts, and President Trump joked about it with his great health team just the other day, from Dr. Marty McCary to Secretary Kennedy, also Dr. Oz and Dr. Bhattacharya. He said all of us had TV shows. We were all made out to be that discredited somehow. He's like, you guys graduate at the top of your class. And it's true. It's great, smart people that we have. So we're going to toss to a quick commercial break. Stick with us as we break down all the latest news from President Trump's Middle East visit right there live in Doha, Qatar.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard-to-find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple, Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Good morning again to you here on RSBN Live. Thanks so much for joining us and streaming in live. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
I'm Robert McNeely. We're watching all the latest news from President Trump's visit, a 3-state tour in the Middle East, from Saudi Arabia today in Doha, Qatar, tomorrow in the United Arab Emirates. But we're also watching what's happening within the Beltway and right here stateside. Kristi Noam, a DHS hearing taking place right now. We'll toss that there live so you can get all of the latest information.
Without objection, the chair may declare the committee in recess at any point. During today's hearing, I would remind members that they should direct their comments to the chair or to the secretary. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. Good morning, Secretary Noam, and thank you for joining the committee today to discuss President Trump's budget to fund the crucial mission of the Department of Homeland Security. Before we begin, I want to mention that this is Police Week, a time for us to remember and honor the contributions of the men and women of federal, state, and local law enforcement across this country, including within DHS. I think a lot of people don't realize that there are more badges in HSI than there are in the FBI. So much could be said about all of you who devote your lives to service and to keep us safe. But for now, let me simply say thank you. Thank you, and know that our committee has your back. Madam Secretary, this is your first appearance before the committee, and I look forward to continuing to work closely with you and your team as we strive to undo the damage and the chaos created by your predecessor. When you took office, you inherited an unprecedented crisis at our southern border, at all our borders, created by President Biden, Vice President and Border Czar Kamala Harris, and Secretary Mayorkas. For 4 years, the administration and unaccountable bureaucrats helped craft their extreme agenda, dismantled our secure border, gutted interior immigration enforcement, and implemented a policy of mass catch and release that flooded our communities with millions of illegal immigrants. Under the Biden-Harris administration, Customs and Border Protection recorded more than 11 million encounters of inadmissible aliens at our border. On top of that astronomical number, CBP has recorded roughly 2 million known gotaways, a number that exceeded the previous 10 fiscal years combined. That's more than 13 million inadmissible aliens who violated our sovereign border in just 4 years, around quadruple the number from the first Trump administration, and all because the administration's policies and rhetoric encouraged them to do so. The first few months of the second Trump administration provided a remarkable contrast. Under your and President Trump's leadership, the Border Patrol has apprehended just around 25,000 illegal crossers at the southwest border. By comparison, in December of 2024, more than 47,000 illegal crossers were apprehended. We went from a record 301,000 illegal crossings at the southwest border in December of 23 to just over 7,000 in March, an astonishing 97% decrease. It turns out we didn't need comprehensive immigration reform or woefully misguided Senate border bill that was pushed by the former secretary. We just needed a president willing to enforce the laws Congress had already passed. Because illegal aliens now know that President Trump will have them removed from the country, they've stopped coming. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle understand this. They do not want to talk about these victories because they know that for 4 years they stood on the wrong side of this issue, defending open borders and the abolition of ICE. They also understand the American people do not trust them on the issue of border security and immigration enforcement, in large part because of their radical stances. I expect they'll spend a lot of time today twisting the truth to mislead the American people. I look forward to hearing you set the record straight. And while we're talking about Democrats' anti-enforcement extremism, I'd like to briefly extend my regrets to you, Madam Secretary, and to the entire DHS workforce for the antics we saw on display outside the Delaney Hall detention facility last week. Right now, attacks on law enforcement across this country are up 400%. Public officials should be sending a clear signal that these brave public servants are to be respected and not assaulted. However, on Friday, current and former Democrat members of this committee stormed their way into an ICE facility in Newark, causing mass chaos, and verbally and physically accosting members of federal law enforcement in the process. I'd like to share a video.
The Department of Homeland Security is warning there could be more arrests following the incident that you see here.
I'm embarrassed by what I saw, and everyone should be. This behavior is utterly unbecoming of a citizen, let alone a member of Congress. Democrats may talk a big game about law and order, but these actions are a violation of the sacred principle. Not only have Democrats excused these actions, but they've actually tried to blame ICE for what happened. When you punch a law enforcement officer, that's not the law enforcement officer's fault. This behavior demands a swift and firm response, and I assure you action will be taken. Despite Democrats' best efforts to prevent it, the Trump administration has ended the immediate crisis at our borders. However, more work remains, particularly in removing the millions of individuals who have no lawful basis to be in the United States. It is essential that we swiftly fund enforcement efforts through the reconciliation process. Congress must also codify President Trump's successful policies to ensure they can withstand the schemes of open border radicals. Meanwhile, the open border is not the only threat our nation faces. While the Biden-Harris administration had its back turned, the Chinese Communist Party executed brazen operations on U.S. soil, including running secret police stations in our cities and conducting surveillance operations. On top of that, Chinese-affiliated firms are buying up U.S. farmland and commercial properties, including in areas near sensitive government and military sites. More than 60,000 Chinese nationals illegally crossed our southwest border between fiscal year 21 and 24. Most of them were released by the Biden administration into the interior, despite us not having their true intentions or backgrounds. The CCP is pushing the envelope harder than ever. Consequently, we need a robust, innovative, and consistent effort to push right back. Our cyber borders also remain under assault. Most notably, malicious cyber actors associated with the Chinese government have targeted us with some of the most sophisticated and sustained hacking operations we have ever seen. The Salt and Volt Typhoon intrusions revealed significant gaps in our cyber posture, compromising Americans' private data and key sectors of our critical infrastructure. We have not forgotten devastating attacks like the Colonial Pipeline in the spring of 21, which led to oil and gas shortages across our country and lines at almost every gas station. We cannot stay ahead of these evolving cyber threats if we do not have the right people with the right skills to defend our nation. Today, more than 500,000 cyber positions across this country in both public and private sectors are currently unfilled. That's 500,000 cyber professionals not on the front lines to defend us from the malicious activity jeopardizing our national security. That's why I introduced the Cyber Pivot Act, which would create an ROTC-like scholarship program enabling men and women across this country to gain hands-on experience in cybersecurity or related fields in exchange for a period of required government service across any level of government. Earlier this year, the committee favorably reported the act to the House. Democrat Senator Gary Peters, ranking member of the Homeland Security Governmental Affairs Committee, and Senator Mike Rounds, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, introduced a companion legislation to this in the Senate. It's time to bring this bill to the floor for a vote. Madam Secretary, I look forward to working with you on finding creative solutions to our cyber workforce shortage, as well as ensuring that the agencies under DHS tasked with defending our cyber borders, primarily CISA, remain focused on their task. As your budget rightly indicates, the agency's censorship of millions of Americans will come to an end. Instead, CISA's engagement with the private sector must focus on protecting critical infrastructure and our federal civilian networks. This must include streamlining burdensome regulatory requirements and ensuring CISA remains a trusted and reliable partner to the public and private sectors. I trust that over the next 4 years, you'll devote maximum effort to dismantling the censorship industrial complex while ensuring that CISA is positioned to succeed at its core mission. These are some of the most substantial challenges, but many more await. Madam Secretary, I expect continued progress on all of these issues, but I'm equally confident in your leadership and resolve to get this job done. Together, let's resecure our homeland. I now recognize the ranking member for an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Madam Secretary, to the hearing. Mr. Chairman, before we begin, I want to recognize National Police Week and thank the officers who protect our communities, this capital, and our country honorably and ably. We appreciate their service. As we observe National Police Week, I again call on the Speaker to follow the law and finally hang the plaque honoring those brave officers who defended the United States Capitol from a violent mob on January 6th. Over 140 law enforcement officers were assaulted that day, and honoring their bravery and sacrifice as promised is the least Congress can do. Turning to today's hearing, I'm glad Secretary Nome is finally testifying before the committee. After all, it's been 3 months since I sent you a letter asking for her to testify on the Trump administration's dismantling of the Department of Homeland Security and its harmful effects on communities across the country. Secretary Nome, I guess the chairman didn't think systematically dismantling the Department of Homeland Security, firing the federal workers who keep us safe, and violating the Constitution of the United States justified your timely appearance before this committee. But when Donald Trump demanded that Congress hand him money to do more damage to our Homeland Security, Republicans bent over backwards to help him and his billionaire friends at the expense of the American people. Whatever got you here, Secretary Nome, I'm glad you found time among your many photo ops and costume changes to testify about why President Trump is seeking more taxpayer dollars and what you plan to do with that money if you get it. And it is a lot of money. We're talking about $176 billion. That's how much President Trump has demanded that Congress give you to spend next year. Never mind the fact that your department is spending taxpayers' money so fast this year, you're about to be broke. Now you're saying you need $44 billion more, but all you've done is slash, burn, cut, dismantle, and tear apart DHS since you got here. You cut programs at the Federal Emergency Management Agency that help Americans prepare for and recover from disasters. You are unlawfully withholding grant money meant to prevent terrorism and respond to emergencies from local communities across the country. You cut programs at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, which prevents attacks on power lines, water treatment plants, schools, hospitals, and other critical infrastructure. You cut the number of transportation security officers who protect our airports and our airplanes. You cut the Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, which keeps DHS from digging into Americans' private lives and violating people's constitutional rights. You are making Americans less safe. If you're cutting the things that help keep America safe, why should we give you an extra $44 billion? Is it to deport American citizen children with cancer? Is it to deport more veterans of the United States military? Is it to ignore the Supreme Court's order to facilitate the release of a lawful permanent resident you mistakenly shipped off to a foreign prison? Is it to punish people for exercising their First Amendment right? Is it to disappear more people off our streets with no due process and ship them to a foreign dictator's prison? Is it to fire more military veterans who continue to serve their country by working for DHS? Is it to slash efforts to fight persistent threats from foreign terrorist organizations and domestic terrorists? Is it to dismantle FEMA as hurricane season is about to get underway? Is it to decimate CISA and invite China, Russia, Iran, and other adversaries into our cyber networks? Is it just to be mean, threaten, and deny due process to vulnerable people? These are not hypotheticals. These are things that DHS has already done under your leadership or is trying to do, Secretary Noem. Your policies and actions are so bad that Republican members have been running and hiding from their own constituents, refusing to hold town halls because they know they cannot defend this administration. Republicans are unwilling to defend the Trump administration with the folks back home. So I guess it's down to you to try to do that here today. But you can't defend the indefensible, Secretary Noem. Your department is out of control. On your watch, the department is breaking the law, it's hurting people, and it's making America less safe. The Trump administration is outright lying to the courts and the American people. Just last week, 3 members from New Jersey, all current members or former members of this committee, tried to visit an ICE detention center, which they are permitted to do, as you know, by law, without notice, to conduct oversight after reports of issues at the facility. Instead of following the law, masked ICE personnel stopped and assaulted the members. Then, to make matters worse, instead of launching an investigation into the incident, your department lied to the press about the situation and threatened to arrest members of Congress for doing their job. Absolutely outrageous. It's a sad day for the Department of Homeland Security. Frankly, I've never seen anything like it, and I've served as the lead Democrat on this committee from its start. Even when the Secretary, my Republican colleagues, and I had strong disagreements, we still had productive conversations and did our duty to keep America safe. But that's not the case any longer. My colleagues across the aisle have sold their souls, or at least their spines, to Donald Trump. They try to cover the administration lies and blame Democrats for doing the job our constituents sent us here to do. Republicans have forgotten that Congress is a co-equal branch of government and that the oath we take to the Constitution is the same as the president. Republicans even want to cut Medicaid to fund tax breaks for millionaires. They put their billionaire buddies over the little guys every chance they get. And now you are here, Secretary Noem, with your hand out, looking for more taxpayer money to continue the slash and burn activities of the Department of Homeland Security over the past 100 or so days. until the Trump administration starts following the law, that's going to be a very, very hard sell. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Other members of the committee are reminded that opening statements may be submitted for the record. I'm pleased to have the Secretary of Homeland Security before us today for the first time as Secretary. I ask that Secretary Nome, you'd please rise and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the Committee on Homeland Security of the United States House of Representatives will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record reflect that the Secretary has answered in the affirmative. Please take a seat, ma'am. I would now like to formally introduce our witness. The Honorable Kristi Noem currently serves as the 8th Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Prior to her appointment as Secretary, she served as Governor of South Dakota, as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and in the South Dakota State Legislature. I thank the Secretary for being here today, and I now recognize Secretary Noem for 5 minutes to summarize her opening statement.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you, Chairman McCall. Good to see you again. I was very privileged to serve with you when I served in this body, and to Ranking Member Thompson. I appreciate the invitation to be with all of you today and talk about important matters about securing our homeland here in the United States of America. Now, having previously served as a member of Congress, it's my honor to be on this side of the dais to present as the Secretary of Homeland Security. Today, I'm proud to discuss the accomplishments of President Trump and all that he has accomplished since he's taken office in the White House. But first, I would be remiss if I did not address the disturbing actions that we saw last week. There were members of this very committee that took part in an action at Delaney Hall on May 9th that need to be addressed. I served as a member of Congress in this body for 8 years, and I understand the importance of congressional oversight. What happened on May 9th was not oversight.
Okay, so of course, watching the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem doing a great job at the Department of Homeland Security. Coming to you live from Qatar, you see on the right side of your screen as President Trump is in day 2 of his 3-day trip in the Middle East.
Yes, enjoying success and wins, great bilateral deals with the Saudi Arabians, leading into Qatar as well with the Emir, the leader of this beautiful, very small nation, but actually has the 4th largest GDP in the world. So very wealthy, successful, building beautiful palaces and creating prosperity in their constitutional monarchies. So we look forward to more bilateral agreements, more surprises perhaps on this tour, as maybe President Trump will go to Turkey, meet with President Erdogan, also President Putin and President Zelensky, respectively, of Russia and Ukraine, as, God willing, this terrible conflict will be coming to an end very soon.
Exactly. So that huge meeting is tomorrow in Turkey between Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine and Russia. So we'll see what happens there. Stay with Right Side, because we'll be able to have that live coverage, at least for commentary and analysis of what happens there. And if we do get a live feed of anything from Russia in the sense of the Russia-Ukraine meeting in Turkey, we'll bring that to you on top of the UAE visit that President Trump has coming up next after this one in Qatar. So again, it is about, I think it's 7:30 in the evening there in Qatar at this point. I'm going to double check the phone here. As I added Riyadh and Qatar, it's 6:30 p.m. there right now. So a lot of overnight videos that we have here at the network. If you're just joining us, maybe we'll go back to some of those as we did air them earlier, but just in case you missed any of them, as we await, again, we are that live desk that you talk about, Robert, as we are waiting for any live feeds that we see from Qatar for President Trump and the Emir, the leader of the country. And if we get any press conferences, we'll go to that. In the meantime, you're looking live right now. What a beautiful shot that is.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. And the hospitality of this tour, just wonderful in the Gulf states, whether it's the White Stallions accompanying the president and the crown prince, or the Qatari Air Force welcoming beside them Air Force One, of course, into their beautiful airspace. So this is really a part of the world that has seen a renaissance in the last 25, 30 years, and it's exciting to be part of it. A golden age for the Middle East, as well as a golden age for the United States of America.
Exactly. All right, so 11:36 this morning, Wednesday, May 14th. Thanks again for streaming in with us. Let's go to the video where President Trump's in Air Force One. He's traveling from Saudi Arabia to Qatar. It's about a 389 miles exactly. I looked it up yesterday. How far is Riyadh to Doha? So he was traveling in Air Force One. So why don't we show you that press conference, that press gaggle that was on the plane there. And then after that, we'll show you the video of the Qatari fighter jets that were right alongside Air Force One. But let's go inside that great plane. Robert was already inside that plane. I look forward to it someday. But the point is, let's go to that plane right now.
Jet fighters will be surrounding the plane in about 7 minutes. Oh, I heard they threw you out of the press conference.
They tried, but Caroline stopped them.
Caroline saved you. You're lucky. You're lucky. You were a little out of control.
How's the trip going so far? Well, I was asking you about your meeting with the Syrian
I think
president.
it's going well. Great relationships. And now we're meeting with a group that's fantastic. The Emir is a great guy. I know him all very well. Who are you? You're going to be surrounded by 8 fighters, in about 7 minutes. Then you say, do we need them? And when they say yes, that doesn't make me feel good, right?
What's the threat? Did they tell you what the threat is?
No, let's assume there's no threat. We have to assume that.
How did you find the Syrian president?
Great. Great. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. Strong pass. Very strong pass fighter.
Does that worry you at all?
He's got a real shot at pulling it together. I spoke with President Erdogan, who I'm very friendly with him. He feels he's got a shot at doing a good job. It's a torn up country.
Do you think Syria will join the Abraham Accords?
Yeah, but I think they have to get themselves straightened out. I told him, I hope you're going to join when it's straightened out. He said yes. But they have a lot of work to do.
What about Lebanon? Do you think there's a path for Lebanon to normalize relations with Israel?
You know, a friend of mine is the new ambassador to Lebanon, and I didn't even know, and I never knew his relationship, but he was born in Lebanon, and he said, I'd like to be the ambassador. He's a very successful guy. And I said, that's very dangerous. He said, I don't care. I love my country, and it's worth it to do. I'll go and interview him sometime. Michel. He's a great guy, but I think he's approved or almost approved. But, there's a danger there for a very successful man to go and do that. I said, you sure you know what you do it? It's like Doug taking pictures, right? So you got some good shots, I guess. That's a beautiful scene. The last scene at the airport I thought was beautiful. They rode out together. They generally don't do that. They don't generally meet presidents.
There have been some reports of the Syrian president wanting a Trump Tower in Damascus. Did that come up at all?
No, that I haven't heard. We'll have to wait a little while. Everything's calmed down a little while with the country. I think he's got the potential. He's a real leader. And, he led a charge, and he's pretty amazing. But did you see him? Did you get to see him? He was there. He was with us at the event.
Did the PGA Tour or Live Golf come up at all in your conversations with the Crown Prince?
No. You mean the Live?
Yeah.
No, we didn't discuss it.
What about that Saudi intelligence agent? The 9/11 families want the Saudi intelligence agent to be extradited to the United States to face charges for 9/11. Did that come up in conversation?
No, it didn't. But I know all about it, but it didn't come up.
On Israel, you're not going to Israel. Does this trip sideline Israel at all?
No, not at all. No, this is good for Israel. Having a relationship like I have with these countries, Middle Eastern countries, essentially all of them, I think it's very good for Israel.
Can I ask you again on Israel? On the hostage deal, did any of your people speak with Israel about the release of the American hostage? I'm sorry, on the sanctions lifting of Syria. Well, let me ask on Iran first. What credit does Israel deserve, if any, for that release of the hostage?
Well, they've been fighting a long time. They're warring, and I think they deserve a lot of credit. I think my people deserve a lot of credit, maybe the most credit. He wouldn't be there by step. We've gotten a lot of them out. And last time, a couple of weeks ago, 10 people walked into my office, the Oval Office, and they said they had a 59 on their shirt in the front. And I said, what does that represent, the number of hostages? I said, wow, that's a lot. They said, well, 24 are living, and now it's 20. The number is 20 are living. 4 have died, and the young people don't die. Young people are killed, they don't die. And so the 24 living of the 59 to 24 living is now down to 20. And we got Ida now. It was great. His family was so thankful. We did a good job with it. We'll continue to do it.
What happens on Thursday if President Putin doesn't show up in Turkey for the talks with Ukraine? What will you do?
Well, I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that. Now, tomorrow, we're all booked out. You understand that? We're all set.
But you'd go if he goes?
We're going to go to UAE tomorrow. And so we have a very full situation. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know that he would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Marco's going. And Marco's been very effective.
How are you feeling about how Putin is handling this? I know you had said a few weeks ago you thought maybe how Putin is handling this. You said a few weeks ago you thought maybe he was tapping you along.
I'll let you know in a few days.
Mr. President, on Israel again, has any of your team been in touch with Israel, your team, about lifting the sanctions on Syria? What's their reaction?
Well, in touch. I mean, we told them we're doing it. The reason I did it, and I think it's been very popular, actually, certainly in the Middle East it's been popular with virtually everybody. But the reason I did it is because I spoke with President Erdogan, who I get along with very well, and I spoke to Mohammed, as you know, was with them, and they thought it was very important to do. It gives them a much better chance of survival as a country.
Can you show what Netanyahu thinks about it?
I think what's happened is Turkey feels we should do it. Other countries. So if you looked at my speech last night, which I assume most of you were at, I think the biggest applause was when I said that we're lifting these sanctions on Syria, and that's because they want to give Syria a chance to live and to be great, etc.
Mr. President, an Emirati government did a $2 billion deal. An Emirati government did a $2 billion deal using the Trump digital coins. How did that deal come about?
I don't know anything about it. I really don't know anything about it, but I'm a big crypto fan, I will tell you. I've been that from the beginning, right from the campaign. I'm a believer in crypto, and if we're not going to do it, China's going to do it. The way I look at it, it's like AI. I'm a believer in AI because we have to have it. We're leading China by a lot. And in crypto, we're leading China by a lot. So I'm a big crypto fan.
You didn't know about that?
No.
Senator Schumer said he wants to block your Justice Department political appointees until he gets answers about questions about the Qatari plane. What's your response?
Schumer's, he's become a Palestinian. Something wrong with him. I don't know. I've known him a long time, and there's something wrong. He's lost his confidence totally, and it's just something wrong with him. I don't know what it is with Schumer. Yeah, did you have a question? Go ahead.
No, I've got two questions on Iran and Russia. Are you still considering secondary sanctions on Iran's oil exports?
Let's see what happens over the next week. I don't really want to answer it because I want to see what happens over the next week. Go ahead.
Okay, and then on Iran and Russia, are you considering sanctions on Russia for supporting Iran and for the continued war in Ukraine?
Well, again, I don't want to talk about it, but I'm always considering the secondary sanctions. I had the secondary sanctions on Iran and drove them into bankruptcy, and there would have been no October 7th. There would have been no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. So I'm always, and as you know, I put secondary sanctions on Iran again. And hopefully they're going to make the right decision because something's going to happen one way or the other. Very simple. It's going to happen one way or the other. They can't be friendly. We'll do it very unfriendly, and that won't be pleasant. Thank you very much.
On the Qatari plane, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, so there you go. You're looking at the evening hours now in Qatar right now live. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Robert McNeely, who has been on Air Force One before in that same position there interviewing President Trump along with the press. And we just received some word from the White House, a fact sheet about this trip to Qatar, making American manufacturing and innovation great again. Today in Qatar, President Donald J. Trump signed an agreement with Qatar to generate an economic exchange worth, get this, at least $1.2 trillion. That is making America wealthy again. Wow.
Yes, and also the new plane that will maybe become Air Force One.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Qatari nation. You know, we've received gifts in the past from other nations. We've given gifts as well. So this is all going through the Defense Department. Perhaps one of the most beautiful, ornate gifts. She's in New York Harbor. And it's Lady Liberty, of course, from our friends in France back in the 19th century. So it's just funny what the far left tries to do, throwing spaghetti at the wall. It's not sticking. So you might as well enjoy your Italian dinner, because President Trump is going nowhere anytime soon in regards to exiting stage right. He is the man for the mission, the man for now, truly the man in the arena, literally marred with blood, sweat, and tears. And it's awesome to see this president on the ground making things great again in this golden era. And that's all about peace through strength. It's negotiating. It's the art of the deal in real time, the art of the comeback, and the art of the golden era. Perhaps a new book from President Trump forthcoming.
Yeah, it'd be great. I'm sure any book that President Trump writes or someone writes for him is going to be flying off the shelves. Speaking of flying, let's go to that video of the Qatari fighter jets right alongside Air Force One. This happened within that 24/7 news cycle. Let's just take that live full and take a listen to what that was like.
Really a great shot of the wing as well that you don't always see. U.S. Air Force along the side and underneath the wing of Air Force One, so that's fun, along with that signal, and that's really coming right out of where the press does sit on the right-hand side towards the back of the aircraft. You can see there as well, there's that scanning signal that takes place. That can see any oncoming threat from miles and miles away. It's an extraordinary technology on Air Force One, and something really neat to see in real time. But what an honor to have the Qatari Air Force alongside our Air Force protecting President Donald Trump and welcoming him to this beautiful, very small in square mileage nation, but the fourth largest GDP in the entire world. So think about that, as a golden era is happening for the Middle East and the United States. So where does that leave your finances? Colonial Metals Group is your go-to. Paul Stone, the CEO of this great organization. Scan the QR code now, freegoldguide.com/RSBN, because it's China, it's Iran, it's at times Russia. We saw their big celebration on May 8th to celebrate the end of World War II, but you had more of the extreme leaders in the world, whether it's Xi Jinping, the Brazilian president, also the Venezuelan president, joining Vladimir Putin, who's been put in a really weird position by the Otto Penn administration to want to partner with trading partners that are rather extreme throughout the world. Regardless, they are all affecting global currency, global trade, but this president, the true trader, negotiator, beautiful person in this White House right now, and thank God for him as we're seeing it in real time. But what does this mean for you and your finances? Gold and silver, they are the true go-to, because the Chinese Communist Party, it's the war games in Taiwan, it's the throwing back of the reciprocal tariffs against the United States. So gold and silver must become part of your portfolio. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. It's your go-to right now. Scan that QR code now. Shield your savings today.
Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, another sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. As you see on your screen, get ivermectin and other essential medications. You're talking hydroxychloroquine or methylene blue. There's more than 200 essential medications ready to go for you. If you fill out that medical paperwork online, you'll get the prescriptions that you need. You can actually order in bulk. You can order overnight. This is something that you can really bulk up with and have just in case you need it, especially ivermectin. Use that RSBN 10 promo code, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. As you know, a lot of pharmacies and doctors out there, they're like, I don't know, I'm not going to give you ivermectin. Well, how about yes, you should, because it actually works. And we've seen doctors that are on the right side of history say that is something that really does help with bacteria, viruses, COVID, whatever it was back in the day, but even now. So, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. I know you interviewed the pharmacist just recently with All Family Pharmacy.
Well, yeah, and two things on this, Matthew, because not only is it a great 10% off code with RSBN10, but think about if there's an emergency and your medicine cabinet is not stocked. Or the fact that we've seen it in America, to your point, during COVID. Not that the pharmacy may be out of stock with something, it's that a certain doctor or a certain person, like Big Pharma, does not want you to obtain it. And that's just wrong, because we know things like ivermectin, methylene blue have been used for years and years and years and have been FDA approved. So why not use it, a proven factor against things like COVID, among many other diseases? So again, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, there for you, to serve you in your moments of need.
And we'll be talking a lot about this great company. We interviewed the owner the other day, a pharmacist, Lars Larson, who has the Lars Larson Show, spoke on behalf of the company just the other day. Great patriots with a great product there, especially if you need it. More than 200 essential medications. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 11:53 a.m. Wednesday, May 14th. Getting ready for that noon hour. Thank you so much for streaming in with us for this Middle East coverage, as the leader of the free world is overseas right now.
Yes, but a lot going on in the Beltway as well. Things continue to work here at home. We have the Vice President at the Naval Observatory welcoming and celebrating police officers as it is National Police Week. And thank you to all those men and women in blue. Even if it's just simply pulling people over for speeding, you never know what's going to happen as you approach that car. It's one of the most dangerous jobs out there, and you willingly put on that uniform to protect your community on a daily basis. Thank you for that, because it's something that I think we should thank them every day. I mean, should there be 1 week or should there be 52 weeks of this?
Yeah.
So anytime you see your fellow peace officers, make sure you say thank you for what they do.
Protecting and serving. And also my dad, who passed away in 2007 from a different situation, a motorcycle accident. He was a detective for several years out there. So definitely understand the law enforcement family, and also have some friends, I'm sure you do too, that work in law enforcement. So a big salute to all of you guys. Thank you for what you do. And then on top of that, we might as well talk about Customs and Border Protection, the county sheriff's offices, local police departments, the United States military along our southern border, working day in and day out, where none of us get to really see it because, you know, we're doing our own thing. We're all working, but we are showing on occasion various photos from the southern border and videos. I do that on my Truth Social a lot, because I still can't believe that we have our military that are in uniform on our soil down at that border.
Oh, it's amazing. What a difference. And to his point, on March 5th, the joint session of Congress, President Trump said all you had to do was ultimately change the president. And that's so true with the amount of appointments, this brilliant, amazing cabinet that's in place of Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, who have said no to the deep state globalist agenda, who have taken on the last 30 years of neocon and neoliberal policies that have weakened us and made certain families rich. That's over now. You have subject matter experts, and the best part about this cabinet, so many of them were investigated unlawfully, unwillingly, and they still believed in our founding principles. And they said, no, the bad guys got to go. and now it's time to investigate them, and also keeping themselves in check, because we saw a political party and certain individuals go after with lawfare against a former president of the United States, now the sitting president of the United States. I mean, incredible ramifications for that. We'll see where the legal process takes it, especially the DOJ with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi doing an extraordinary job to making sure that everyone is equal under the law and order, restored constitutional governance. The visions of our founders nearly shaped 250 years ago now.
And before we go to yesterday's State Department press conference, we will monitor anything live with Qatar and President Trump's visit there. Also, if there is a recording of an announcement or a press conference, we can always upload that as well. But before we go to that State Department, I'm going to talk about something I posted on Truth Social just to show that I don't want to just hide behind a phone and post something. I want to tell you here my thoughts about this. So 6 months and 23 days ago, we were on the verge of losing our country, losing our constitutional rights, but obviously, thank God we won. And part of what I posted was about it's not business as usual, and as some in the media are acting like. We still remember what it was like over the past 4 years. Let's stop there. We'll continue on with this in a second. But let's just rehash, just for a second, how serious this really was, Robert.
Oh, I thought about that even yesterday with the way the Crown Prince was so gracious in Saudi Arabia. Walking up the purple carpet there to Air Force One, they always send their subordinate. He broke protocol because of the relationship he has with the President of the United States. It's profound to think about this. And the deal that was signed, $600 billion pouring into the United States, $142 billion of those dollars related to military defense. And there's a great, bright future for the Gulf states and the United States. And President Trump spoke to this specifically, saying that some presidents wanted to right wrongs and would be the judges and judgment ultimately of perceived sin. He doesn't view it that way. The Trump doctrine is God will ultimately judge. I will ultimately be put into place to save America and to defend America first priorities. So think about that. It was almost as if you had the first Saudi Arabia rally with all of that royalty, all of those business people standing up for President Trump, standing up for our national anthem, standing up for God Bless America by Lee Greenwood, and then YMCA. So talk about the westernized way that this prince is now going about this, and in their structure of government within the constitutional monarchy and the outlining, really it's the crown prince who is the prime minister and the heir apparent to the throne, but really who does the day-to-day business of their government. And this young man, roughly 39, 40 years old, if I'm not mistaken, has just this affinity for President Trump and escorting him back to Air Force One as he went to Qatar. Just extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. And, you know, we on the heels of the past 4 years of how awful it was under, as you call them, auto pen, you know, and then what we were facing at the fork in the road before that election. Obviously, thank God that President Trump won. Our country is being saved as we speak. But unfortunately, what we still have are the following things. There are national news networks who denied that the 2020 election was stolen. There are national news networks who silenced well-known conservatives. National news networks who are acting like it's business as usual in our country. There are national networks who attempt to brainwash the masses with lies. Then there are national news networks who stand firmly with we the people and the truth and common sense and the Constitution and on. And we're proud to do that here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And I know that others, podcasters, other conservative media outlets, really all in the same boat of on the right side of history. This is something we really believe in here. Not reading from a teleprompter right now. This is just really what we are about. And so we just wanted to put that out there for the record that, as you guys know, the fake news is the fake news. But we didn't deny that the election was stolen. We did not here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, right? We did not silence any conservative voices that other networks have. So we really are standing with really what's happening in the country and not afraid to say it.
Well, and more than anything else, what we did on the campaign trail over the course of the last decade, talk to you, the American people, about how you truly feel. Because that was the claim way back when the golden escalator happened, that somehow you did not exist. And I saw it on the campaign trail myself, dating back to 10 years ago now. I was not necessarily on the Trump train right out the gate, but I was really interested in what he had to say and thought, wow, I remember watching that speech with my mom actually after the Golden Escalator from Trump Tower, and I thought, this man really has a handle on what he's talking about. This is going to be an interesting campaign, to say the least. And then I was someone that summer who said, let's go all in for President Trump because he is the man for such a time as this. And what an extraordinary movement this has become. And this network is the only one who actually walked out there to the rallies and talked to you, the American people. And some have now followed suit, and it's good because the more voices, the better. And it's great to get your voices, the American people, on the record about how you feel about this administration and your country.
Exactly. So if you like Right Side Broadcasting Network and what we talk about and what we stand for, including we're pro-God, pro-Holy Bible, pro-Jesus, of course, pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, pro-freedom, pro-Constitution, you came to the right place. Let's go to the State Department press briefing from just yesterday. Robert McNeely right here. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you after the State Department press briefing.
All right. So for those that don't know me, my name is Tommy Pigott, Principal Deputy Spokesperson. Stepping in for the day for Spokesperson Bruce, who is traveling with the Secretary and the President. So to start, a few remarks up top, and then I'll be happy to take some questions. So the American people can be proud that their leaders are putting their safety and security and prosperity first. This week's developments show an administration delivering boldly on its promises, and the results speak for themselves. When President Trump says he will never leave an American behind, he means it. Idaan Alexander has been released from Hamas captivity and reunited with his family in Israel. This is the result of unwavering American leadership. President Trump and Secretary Rubio are also strengthening strategic ties in the Middle East, delivering security and economic wins in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Earlier today, President Trump announced Saudi Arabia's $600 billion commitment to invest in the United States, building economic ties that will translate into jobs and opportunities for the American people and the region. Secretary Rubio will next travel to Turkey to attend the NATO Informal Foreign Ministers meeting. Since the November election, 20 NATO allies have announced increases in defense spending, a direct result of President Trump's leadership, and a renewed commitment to peace through strength. We also welcome the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and commend Prime Ministers Modi and Sharif for choosing the path of peace. As President Trump said, their decision reflects strength, wisdom, and fortitude. We urge both sides to maintain direct communication to preserve regional stability. Regarding Iran, negotiations continue to show progress. This administration remains clear. Iran will never be allowed to acquire a nuclear weapon. As President Trump has said, Iran can have a much brighter future. The time is right now for them to choose. And finally, the President has secured another win for American workers. An initial agreement with China to reduce China's tariffs and set a path for future discussions to open market access for American exports. As President Trump has said, the U.S. will continue to prioritize fairness, reciprocity, and results. The American people are already seeing the benefits. Inflation is down, grocery and gas prices are falling, and optimism is returning across the country. President Trump is once again delivering on his promise to make America great again. And before I take questions, I would like to thank spokesperson Tammy Bruce and the entire team for its unwavering support. It is an honor to be here, and I look forward to answering your questions for the American people. And with that, I'll take some questions.
Tommy?
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome to the briefing room. Trump said today that he's ordering the cessation of sanctions on Syria. How quickly will the U.S. lift these sanctions? Is this something we could expect as soon as coming days?
I have nothing additional to preview. The president obviously spoke to this, and the president has been clear he wants to see prosperity for the entire region. That's part of the purpose of this trip, so nothing to further preview in terms of a timeline.
And is the U.S. pressing the UN Security Council to lift sanctions on HTS?
Again, nothing to preview on that front, but as the president said, this is about making sure we can have a region with peace and prosperity, long-term prosperity. And as Caroline Leavitt said before the trip, this is about a golden age both for the American people and for the Middle East. And we're seeing that dedication with the many different announcements that the president made today.
Can you give us an update on the talks between Russia and Ukraine later this week? Will Secretary Rubio be participating in those talks? What are the expectations from the U.S. side? And there's been talk about a face-to-face meeting between Zelensky and Putin. Can you tell us anything about that or talks to prepare for those talks?
Well, the president has spoken to this as well. He has been clear that the meeting in Istanbul is a critical opportunity for direct talks between Russia and Ukraine. That has been clear. The president has also been clear that he wants to see those talks happen, and he's been dedicated to trying to first get that ceasefire and then an enduring peace. In terms of specifics, nothing further to preview. The president also spoke to this during his speech just a short while ago. I'd refer you to his comments there. But this is a critical opportunity to, again, have those direct talks to try to achieve that ceasefire and then that long and enduring peace. Yes.
Thank you, Tom. Good to see you behind the podium. Very quick question. On Sunday, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the ethnic cleansing of Gaza is inevitable and that they were targeting every house in Gaza for that purpose. So, is the United States, are they okay with that kind of language, or would there be a rebuke in the future of such a thing that is clearly, speaks of a war crime? What is the position of the U.S.?
Well, first, I don't accept the characterization of your question. And second, I'd say that Hamas bears sole responsibility for the war and for the resumption of hostilities. We want peace and the immediate release of all hostages. And we've also been clear from this podium and elsewhere that any departure from Gaza must be voluntary.
Yeah, but you I mean, as far as what he said, I mean, that's what came out of the cabinet meeting. I mean, independent of what we hear about Hamas and so on, and they are responsible for this. But do you have a position on the forcible removal of the Palestinians from Gaza?
Look, I just answered that question. I stand by what I just said, and ultimately, Hamas bears sole responsibility for this war. Yes.
Follow up on Gaza. The spokesperson last week, Tammy, mentioned that a foundation would be set up. At that time, it was very shortly. It was last week to distribute aid into Gaza. Where does that stand now? Is this still a project? It's still in the works. Is it going to happen? And the Israeli Prime Minister also said that in the coming days he would go in full force into Gaza. Would that disrupt those plans, or is it calculated and being prepared together? How does that work?
Well, look, we won't speak on behalf of the foundation, and we'll defer to the foundation in terms of any announcement that they may or may not make. But bottom line is we welcome moves to get aid quickly into Gaza. And we also welcome creative solutions that make sure that that aid actually gets to the people that need it and is not falling into the hands of terrorists such as Hamas. So we support creative solutions to get that aid in there. We want to make sure it's done in a way where it's not falling into the hands of Hamas, that it's actually reaching the people that need it. And what is as clear as day is that the people of Gaza have suffered tremendously under Hamas. So we support those creative solutions to get aid in there, and the president has been very clear, as has Secretary Rubio. Yes.
I wanted to ask your response of reports that there were back-channel talks that led to the release of Idan Alexander, with a Hamas official reaching out to the former leader of Arab Americans for Trump. Can you speak to that report and any details about how the release came to be?
So I'm not going to comment on private diplomatic conversations, but what I will say and reiterate is that this shows that when President Trump says he will never leave an American behind, he means it. This is the direct result of American leadership, as I said earlier, and again shows the fact that President Trump is forever working for the safety and security of the American people, as is Secretary Rubio. But I'm not going to discuss or give details of private diplomatic conversations.
You're not denying it?
Again, whether or not that or did not happen, I'm not going to talk about private diplomatic conversations, whether or not they did or did not happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Tommy. Two, actually, one on Afghanistan and then a follow-up on Gaza. Yesterday, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced that the temporary protected status for Afghanistan would expire on May the 20th. She said the conditions in Afghanistan have improved enough for Afghans to return there. Does the State Department think that Afghanistan is now a safe destination for women and girls?
Well, look, ultimately, when it comes to the temporary protected status, I refer you to DHS. It was always meant as a temporary measure or temporary benefit. This is the when that temporary benefit would expire. So for further questions on that, I refer you to DHS.
And then just to follow up on Gaza, you said you support efforts to get aid quickly into Gaza. Here we are more than 2 months later. Like, how soon is quickly? When can we start to see food actually getting in?
Well, look, I think it's important to understand, again, that we're looking for those creative solutions to get that aid in there. We're fully supportive of those measures. And it's also important to reiterate that Hamas bears sole responsibility for this conflict, as well as sole responsibility for the condition under which the people of Gaza are living. So I'm not going to put a timeline on it from here. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the foundation. But what I will reiterate is that we are supportive of creative solutions to get aid in there, but also in a way that the aid is not falling into the hands of Hamas, that it actually reaches the people that need it. Yes.
Yes, Tommy, thank you. Wanted to ask you about the president's trip to the Middle East. He had some comments today in terms of talking about the way that the U.S. approaches countries in the Middle East and the criticism of past policy, saying that for too long, many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. There's been a critique of the State Department, I think, externally by some analysts about the changes to areas of the department that deal with issues of human rights and kind of what have been traditionally seen as U.S. values issues. Is this the president endorsing that shift in terms of the State Department's focus? Do you think that criticism that we've seen from civil society is accurate?
Look, I think the results speak for themselves in terms of what President Trump and Secretary Rubio have been able to deliver for the American people. The results they've been able to deliver. President Trump is a peacemaker. He is a deal maker, and he is constantly putting Americans first. And when we approach foreign policy in a standard where we're approaching that American first perspective, that allows opportunities to pursue common interests, that allows deals to be made, that allows us to have stronger bilateral relationships where we're finding those common areas to work together on and advance those common interests. As spokesperson Bruce has said many times from this podium, just because a framework changes does not mean that the priority necessarily changes as well. Oftentimes what we're seeing in terms of how we're approaching the State Department and other aspects are a way to deliver on our priorities better, more effectively, in a way that actually delivers results for the American people. We are making sure every single dollar that we spend from the State Department under Secretary Rubio is advancing the American interest. Does it make us safer, stronger, more prosperous? And I think that's a standard that the American people expect us to have here at the State Department. They're happy to see that, and the results, again, speak for themselves with perhaps the most successful, I would argue, the most successful 100-plus days in history in this past week. The results we have seen from President Trump speak for themselves.
Thank you, Tommy. Question about the new arrivals from South Africa that landed in Dulles yesterday. The UN's International Organization for Migration has told ABC that they were not involved in administering any loans. Now, typically, they would be the ones to run loans funded by the State Department to pay for refugees to come to the United States to cover those travel costs. Wondering, can you speak to how that travel was funded, or say anything more about whether the State Department is giving out any loans in this case?
Well, look, I'm not going to talk about specific relationships we have with organizations. I'm also not going to talk about operational details in terms of how we're implementing the priorities laid out by the President and Secretary Rubio. The main bottom line, though, is that we are implementing those priorities. We are seeing the President's executive orders being delivered upon here at the State Department, and this is an example of that, of course, collaborating across different agencies. So we're going to continue seeing those priorities fulfilled, but I'm not going to comment here on internal operational details or specifics of that nature.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. A question on Turkey, and I have a question on Iran too. Yesterday, the Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK) declared it's the solution and end to its armed struggle against Turkey. There were reports talking about that the U.S. played a positive role in this process as well, and even yesterday, Secretary Rubio spoke with his Turkish counterpart, and he spoke about this too. Have you played any role? Have you been involved in this? And what's your comment on that? Are you considering removing this group from the FTO?
I'm not going to speak about private diplomatic conversations nor preview decisions of that nature that may or may not be made. What I can say is that we welcome the recent announcement from the Kurdistan Workers' Party on its intent to disband. The United States designated the PKK a foreign terrorist organization in 1997. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives as a result of armed conflict in the decades since the organization was founded, and the terrorist group laying down its arms is a victory for civilization. It is the United States' hope that this announcement will lead to increased stability for the region.
And a question on Iran. You said that regarding Iran, negotiations continue to show progress. What progress have you made so far with Iran? And the next round of talks has been scheduled with Iran. Can you tell us what time or?
Nothing to preview on that front. What I can say is the president spoke to this just in his speech a few hours ago, talking about the time for choosing for them is right now. There is a path to prosperity for Iran. He wants to see the entire region be prosperous. He's also been clear that there are two options for Iran. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, but there are two options in regards to that, a good option and a bad option. So the president has spoken to this. He's made our priorities clear. He's made the goal clear. And I don't have anything additional to add beyond his comments there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. How does U.S. State Department view the Bangladesh interim government's ordinance banning all activities of the largest political party, Awami League, one, as I told you, that one of the largest political parties, effectively erasing its political identity and barring its from future election? I just wanted to mention here in previous briefing, Tammy stressed the importance of election and democracy in Bangladesh, especially inclusive election. Now they banned this political party from the activities. What is your concern on that?
So what I can say on this is that we are aware that the interim government has banned the Awami League from all political activities until a special tribunal for the party and its leaders concludes. We do not support any one political party in Bangladesh over another. We support a free and democratic process, as well as fair and transparent legal processes for all individuals. We urge all countries, including Bangladesh, to respect the freedoms of expression, peaceful assembly, and association for all.
And how does you, as a State Department, view the interim Bangladeshi government role in the fostering radical ideologies and enabling terrorism, following reports of the law advisor Dr. Asif Nazrul meeting with Lashkar-e-Taiba operative Harun Izhar and growing support of violence in Kashmir by political and religious leaders? They met in the ministry in Bangladesh.
So again, taking a step back, I'll reiterate what has been reiterated from this podium before. We value our partnership with the people of Bangladesh, spanning more than 50 years. We remain committed to deepening our partnership by working with the interim government. And I already commented on your other question there, but nothing further to add.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Two questions, one on the North Korea and then the second question about the Russia follows. As you know, that the North Korea launched the multiple ballistic missiles into the East Coast last week for the second time since the second term of the Trump administration. How do you view the fact that North Korea is receiving missile technology support from Russia, which is further escalating the threat to the Korean Peninsula?
So we've spoken on this in the past. I'll refer to those comments and take back your question for further details if we can get there.
The second question on Russia. Russia's Kremlin said that it will pay for the North Korean soldiers who died in Kursk during the war in Ukraine, and that Putin is preparing a new mission with the North Korean military. How will the United States react to the fact that North Korean troops will continue to be stationed in Russia and help Russia, even if Russia and Ukraine reach a ceasefire and the war?
Well, as spokesperson Bruce has said from this podium, third countries like the DPRK that have perpetrated the Russia-Ukraine war bear responsibility. The DPRK's military deployment to Russia and any support provided by the Russian Federation, the DPRK, in return must end. Yes.
Thank you. A couple of questions from South Asia. During his calls with Pakistani Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, and the Army Chief, when Secretary made a call, did he receive any commitment or assurance from the Pakistani leadership that they will dismantle all the terrorist infrastructure and they will no longer support terrorist groups within the country?
I'm not going to talk about private diplomatic conversations. What I can say is reiterate what we've been saying for a couple days now, is that we welcome the ceasefire reached between India and Pakistan this weekend, and we commend both prime ministers for choosing the path of peace. The president truthed about this. He was very clear in terms of that. We also want to encourage direct communication between the parties. That is something we've also been clear about as well.
India has refused any U.S. effort to mediate between India and Pakistan. How hopeful you are that you will be able to bring them together in the same room for talks?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on that. What I can say is that we encourage direct communication. We have been clear on that. We continue to encourage that direct communication. The president has been clear on that. And the president, as I said, has also been clear in praising both prime ministers for choosing the path towards peace and the wisdom and fortitude that shows.
Has U.S. sent a team to Islamabad or Pakistan following the reports that there have been leaks of nuclear radiation in some of the secure Pakistani sites?
I have nothing to preview on that at this time.
I have one more question.
Sorry.
Follow-up. Thank you.
I think that's
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, and beautiful style you have, by the way. I hope you continue to do that more often, these briefings. My question is about Pakistan welcomed President Trump efforts for bringing the ceasefire between Pakistan and India, and they believe that President Trump could win a Nobel Peace Prize if he were to bring peace between Pakistan and India on Kashmir issue. But Prime Minister Modi did not welcome this effort, and he's the same gentleman that was not allowed to come to the U.S. till 10 years ago. Does that disappoint this building at all, the attitude of Narendra Modi of not welcoming this peace deal?
Well, what we are happy to see is a ceasefire. That is what we are happy to see. That's where our focus remains. And we want to see the ceasefire be maintained, and we want to encourage direct communication. That is our focus here. Our focus is the ceasefire. Our focus is on encouraging direct communication. That's where our focus is going to remain. The president has spoken on this. And just to take the first part of your question, kind of focusing on a more global foreign policy front, talking about issues around the world, President Trump, is a peacemaker. He's a peacemaker. He values peace. He's also a deal maker. And he has shown that again and again and again in terms of both pursuing an America First agenda, but also pursuing peace and wanting to see peace and conflicts come to an end.
Thank you very much. One more question about, excuse me, one more question. The drones which India used against Pakistan were Israeli-made drones. President Trump, one initiative that has been globally recognized and talked about is his Abraham Accord idea. Do you think this landing of Israeli drones in Pakistan would create hurdles in the president's vision, his whole thought about this Abraham Accord where he wants to bring these three religions close to each other? These Israeli drones will further complicate the relations between Pakistan and Israel, or no?
Well, I'll reiterate what we are focused on here and happy to see is a ceasefire. We want to see direct communication between the parties. And when it comes to, again, solving conflicts that have existed in regions around the world, the president wants to solve those conflicts when he can. He's often said that he stands ready to aid in the pursuit of peace. He stands ready to help. And the president is a deal maker. He is a peacemaker. He has shown that again and again. And we're seeing the results of that from the past 100 days and even just this last week. So the president's a deal maker. He's a peacemaker, but nothing to comment further beyond that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. I want to follow up on Syria. President Trump, in addition to lifting the sanctions, also said that he wants to create a fresh start with Syria. I wonder, what does this mean for the U.S.-Syria relations going forward? Does this move indicate a broader policy shift towards full normalization? I also wonder, President Trump also said today that Secretary Rubio will meet Syrian Foreign Minister Al-Shaiban in Turkey later this week. What are your expectations from this meeting?
Well, the president spoke to this. He spoke to his reasoning. He spoke to the fact that he wants to see the entire region thrive. We want to see peace and prosperity. When it comes to Syrian interim authorities, from this podium and elsewhere, we've communicated with them some of the actions that they should take for peace and prosperity, and we hope that they do take those actions. But the president has spoken to this in that speech a few hours ago, saying that this is about making sure we have a region that can thrive, a region for long-term peace and prosperity. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up about the Secretary Rubio's trip as well to the Middle East. So the importance, if you can elaborate a little more, although you did some, about the relationship between the U.S. and the Middle East and how important this relationship will be also to succeed through those countries like Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, to the peace talk in between Gaza and Israel, but also to stop Iran from nuclear weapons.
The president has spoken to this issue as well just a few hours ago. And he was talking about the fact that we can have great partnership with the Middle East. And we have, in many ways, already pursuing those common interests. And we want to see those common interests continue. I mentioned at the top here the $600 billion investment commitment from Saudi Arabia that was announced today. So that's just one example of the many ways that we have partnership with the Middle East pursuing common interests. And the president has been clear, both from the time of the last administration, his first visit to the region, talking about the things that we want to see. So there's a lot of opportunities in the Middle East. And again, like I said earlier, this is about a golden age for America, but we also have an opportunity to see a golden age for the Middle East and the benefits that would bring both the American people and the people in the Middle East.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, in front of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Two quick questions, if I may. The first on Secretary Rubio's trip to the Middle East and the second one in Latin America. In a recent past, Secretary Rubio said that the U.S. will not engage anymore with Russians and Ukrainians if both countries do not show real commitment with a permanent ceasefire. How do U.S. diplomacy describe this momentum when both sides are ready to meet in Turkey with alongside Secretary Rubio?
Well, as the president has said, this is a critical opportunity to try to achieve that ceasefire and try to achieve that long peace. The president has been clear he wants to see those direct talks happen. And I think it's also important to remember that the president has brought us closer to peace when it comes to this conflict than in the years preceding him taking office, and that's a great credit to his leadership. So he wants to see those direct talks happen. This is a critical opportunity to achieve that ceasefire and then potentially achieve that long peace, ultimately with the goal of ending this conflict, as has been said so many times by President Trump, so many times by spokesperson Bruce. We want to see this conflict come to an end. That's what we want to see.
On Latin America, very quickly, officials from the U.S. and Brazil, they convened here in Washington, D.C. yesterday to discuss disarmament. And according to the State Department, they discussed, for example, arms control with Russia and China. If you could address this matter.
Nothing further to preview than what we've already said on this, so I refer you to those comments. And with that, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
And we're back after a great State Department press briefing live there in Washington, D.C. President Trump in the Middle East, but his government, your government, all back to work right there in the Beltway.
It is so true, and we're covering it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Robert McNeely and Matthew Alvarez, thanks again for streaming in with us. We look forward to having RSBN host, Christina Loren and Ashley Brassfield and others on, Megan Kohler on throughout the week, next week, because it's great to hear different reports from around the country as well.
Oh, it really is, because it's nice to see what's going on, whether it's the Gulf of America all the way up to Seattle, Washington, and everything in between. This great nation of ours, nearly 250 years young. And think about it, so young compared to some of these long-lasting civilizations President Trump meeting with just this week into the next as well. Exciting times in this golden era. It's so fun. I think about the graduates. Again, congratulations to those graduating, whether undergrads or graduates and everything else, because what a time to have the momentum to go into an economy like this. Go after it, because this is truly an amazing time for the United States.
Exactly. The commencement speech from President Trump is on May 24th in West Point, New York, to the U.S. Army grads. We look forward to having that coverage for you right here on Right Side. As we continue our day and continue our coverage, tomorrow Abu Dhabi will be the next spot for President Trump there in the United Arab Emirates. Anything that we get live or recorded, we will be sure to bring that to you right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This all brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Brightcore, mybrightcore.com/RSBN. Kimchi One. This probiotic really does the job.
It does. Call today. Do not delay. 888-722-0936. Receive an additional 25% off. So that's half off, 50% off if you call, 25% off with code RSBN if you visit mybrightcore.com/RSBN. All made in the USA, non-GMO. The Kimchi One, their premier product, good for gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties, because all of that health really starts in your gut. And regulating these bacterias, sometimes parasites can get in through food or whatever it might be. This is a healthy way to curb all of that. Sometimes you have that brain fog in the afternoon at work, or you don't feel as present. This is a great way to get on the right side of history and on the right track with your health. Brightcore, made in the USA. Thank you for sponsoring us with Kimchi One.
Make America healthy again. A great product to help you do that. Also, let's go over to one of our other sponsors, Kalshi.com/RSBN. So we're talking about anything when it comes to science, technology, politics, sports, weather. Pretty much you name it, you can talk about it there on Kalshi.com and bet and trade on it as well. The QR code's there. There's an app, there's a website, and a lot of people are doing this now.
It's a great go-to. And whether it's the Dodgers reclaiming a back-to-back World Series victory or if egg prices will go down, all those questions affecting just about everything in the culture. So Kalshi.com/RSBN, scan the QR code right under us, and you can get trading and betting right now. It's a fun little site and a great way to take on your friends across the country as well.
Exactly, Kalshi.com/RSBN. All right, so it's the bottom of the hour. It's 12:30, Wednesday, May 14th. Thanks again for streaming in with us. We have a number of sponsors to thank. Before we get to that, Robert, as we go into the rest of the week, again, tomorrow, big news coming up in Turkey as the Russian leader, the Ukrainian leader meet in that country. On top of that, President Trump going to the UAE. So a lot of Middle East and Eastern European events going on, Asian as well. So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah, and Turkey hosting. President Erdogan will be having a meeting with Vladimir Putin of Russia, Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine. God willing, this comes to an end. And President Trump has said he might just stop in for that. So we'll keep you abreast of all of that after the UAE meetings as well. So lots going on in the world. Of course, India and Pakistan ceasing their battle right now thanks to President Trump and the great negotiations of his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. It is quite a time to be alive, but we know the man on the mission right now, the man for such a time as this, is Donald Trump.
The leader of the free world. It's great to cover him. It's great to cover something that is positive in this world. And you're getting that right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so let's thank a few sponsors. Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Also, allfamilypharmacy.com.
Yes, and this is the go-to for ivermectin, other essential medications, over 200 in fact, with antibiotics ready to go for you because you can't afford to be unprepared and not have your medicine cabinet full. So 10% off right now, RSBN10, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN.
Also, angelpaste.com getting a percentage off as well by using the RSBN promo code out of Spring, Texas. They have great products. You see some of them right there. Just go to the website, check them out, angelpaste.com.
And once again, Kalshi.com, whether it's egg prices all the way to sports questions, your best bet to trade with all online partners and on the most important events is Kalshi.com/RSBN.
And let's go to mybrightcore.com/RSBN. Some great sponsors here, including this one, Kimchi One, that product we were just talking about. You can get that right there by going to mybrightcore.com/RSBN.
And of course, Tax Network USA, even though it's after tax day, still good to check in with the Patriot experts at tnusa.com/RSBN. So don't delay, call today, get the IRS off of your back, protect yourself, settle those back taxes now. 800-357-1415. Thank you to Tax Network USA Incorporated.
And mypillow.com/RSBN. The Giza Dream Sheets, $49 a pop there. Use the RSBN promo code. And I'll tell you what, you'll get some good products there. More than 2,000 products with mypillow.com.
And if you wish to support your go-to live desk financially, it's RSBN to 801-801. Text RSBN, easy to remember, to 801-801 or visit rsbnetwork.com/donate. We are citizen journalists, hosts, anchors, and correspondents, also with a great team of writers and producers committed to the right side of history. And You know us as the Rally Network. Over the last decade, we've transitioned into a live desk covering everything inside and outside the Beltway for you and your 47th president, your 50th vice president, and the 119th Congress. So be sure to tune in, as we are also covering sports every now and again, weather, and also the cultural items facing you today.
For all of us at Right Side Broadcasting Network, for Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Have a great day. We'll see you later.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.